Long ago, there was a small country called Xia. Xia had a brave and skilled General Situ. He protected his country, gained fame, and was a political hero immune to foreign temptations. However, even heroes age. The once formidable general became an old general. Due to his age, he injured his back while riding, regrettably ending his battlefield career. Unable to fight anymore, old General Situ could only place his ambitions on his descendants. General Situ's only daughter and her husband had twin children. The old general hoped for his grandson's success, training him in military strategies for 18 years. The emperor also highly regarded the Situ family, granting a junior general title to the general's grandson. This made the old general place even higher expectations on his grandson. Meanwhile, the neglected Miss Situ, who had been overlooked for 18 years, is actually the protagonist of this story. One day, old General Situ was teaching Situ Jian spear techniques. Situ Xiao stood nearby with a fan, unexpectedly earning the old general's rebuke. Situ Xiao, what are you doing? Don't disturb Jianer. Upon closer look, Situ Xiao had a pretty face, slender limbs, and a petite figure. But this beautiful lady had a flaw. She wasn't very bright and had a stutter. Thinking her brother was hot from practicing, she wanted to help, but ended up causing trouble instead. The easily startled Situ Xiao couldn't handle the shock. She dropped her fan, which hit the roof beam. Due to poor maintenance, the house collapsed. Situ Jian was seriously injured by the falling debris. Go brew medicine for your brother, they cried. Feeling guilty, Situ Xiao brought the medicine, but ended up scalding the old general in an unspeakable area. This angered Lady Situ, who berated her for stuttering, being dim-witted, poor at women's work, and unmarriageable. Speaking of which, this young lady was quite a peculiar existence. The family's unfair treatment made Situ Xiao even more insecure. She often prayed for heaven to make her more useful, even at the cost of her life. But tonight, the moment to change her fate arrived. Her brother suddenly found her, complaining about why he was still the same height as his sister at 18. He tied up his hair, ready to run away from home. He stuffed a family letter into his sister's hand. Due to her stutter, her brother only heard the first half of her agreement and happily ran away. By the time Situ Xiao realized, her brother had vanished into the vast night, leaving her alone and crying. This time, mother will surely scold me to death. The next day, Lady Situ saw the letter. She blamed everything on the sister. Just as she was about to slap her, the old general opened the door, calling for the brother to receive an imperial decree. Mother and daughter looked at each other, not daring to breathe. Now the old general also knew that Situ Jian had run away from home. But today, the emperor had just appointed Situ Jian as a junior general and wanted him to defend the border. Now that Situ Jian was missing, this could be a capital offense. Lady Situ was shocked. Situ Xiao was so frightened that she fainted. When she woke up, Lady Situ was smiling. She suddenly became very gentle. Even the usually stern grandfather became kind and benevolent. It turned out the three had come up with a bad idea. They decided to have Situ Xiao disguise herself as her brother and report for duty. Xiao was so frightened that she fainted again. Old General Situ's decision made the already miserable Miss Situ face an even more tragic fate. But an unexpected destiny was also waiting for her. As it concerned the family's fate, Situ Xiao had no choice but to agree. Looking at the armor on her body, her small frame could barely bear its weight. Grandfather had already reported the troop assembly. Now Xiao was in too deep. From today on, she was no longer Situ Xiao, but Situ Jian, the brave junior general of Xia fighting against the god of war from Xia country. Legend had it that the god of war from Xia was invincible. With his different colored eyes, he was even more extraordinary. Next came the young lady leading the army out of the city. Thousands of Xia cavalry followed behind, with the entire city seeing them off. Her mother thought it was a great honor to the family. It seemed nothing could shake their resolve now. The army was already waiting outside. Situ Xiao had no choice but to reluctantly go to war in her brother's place. Please mount your horse, Junior General. Situ Xiao looked at the horse before her in terror. Thinking back, Xiao had been useless for these 18 years. while her brother was the one skilled in all 18 martial arts. Lady Situ looked desperate, while old General Situ was much more composed. He decided to ignore this issue, shouting, "Jenner, forget about mounting." This was only the third time Situ Shio had even seen a horse, let alone ride one. After a while, Shio was still figuring out whether to jump or step onto it, failing many attempts. At this moment, the family steward suddenly spoke up. "The junior general's leg was injured by falling debris and hasn't fully healed. I suggest less horse riding and using a carriage instead." The opposing general was stunned, seeming to have a sudden realization. Under the knowing looks of those in on the secret, the young lady set off in a carriage. After boarding the carriage, Situ Shio wiped the sweat from her face with a handkerchief, feeling completely exhausted. Thus, she embarked on her journey without incident, arriving at the most important place in her life. A month passed after that. The poor Miss Situ experienced motion sickness and insomnia. Wild animals often howled at night. Using the bathroom was extremely inconvenient. The cold and harsh weather all made Situ Shio's life miserable. But today she finally got her release. Putting aside her sorrow, Situ Shio pretended to be aloof as she exited the carriage. The city defense general, Zhao Zhe, bowed and said, "You've arrived, Junior General." Situ Shio's jade-like face wore a faint smile. She curtsied like a woman, saying, Yes, pardon me." Zhao Zhe stared in disbelief at the junior general's way of bowing. He couldn't have guessed that this small, thin general would have such a peculiar habit. Zhao Zhe didn't bother with formalities and got straight to the point. "General Shao, our army has been retreating to the border city in the fierce battle against Sha country. Please take command of the situation." Situ Shio was crying inside. Take command? I don't know how. According to this morning's intelligence, the enemy army will invade Yumen Pass in the next few days. As a horn sounded, Zhao Zhe looked anxious. He didn't expect the enemy to arrive so quickly. Situ Shio was pulled to a corner. Zhao Zhe handed her a horse-cutting sword. "Open the city gate. Face the Empire's army directly." But Situ Shio hadn't forgotten that she knew nothing about martial arts. Zhao Zhe said, "Please mount your horse, General Shao." In such a short time, how could she learn? She could only silently pray that heaven would let her mount the horse smoothly. Our delicate young lady was holding a sword for the first time. Her technique was wrong, and she accidentally cut the horse. Her clothes got caught on the saddle, and she was suddenly carried away. "Sorry, little horse. I didn't mean to." Zhao Zhe swallowed hard behind her, secretly admiring this junior general. He dared to take the lead. What courage! But the reality for Miss Situ was, "Help! The rope is tangled around my hand." At this moment, a dark mass of enemy troops noticed the young lady's presence. They reported to the person on horseback, "Boss, an enemy general is charging towards us alone." The man on horseback with blue and yellow eyes coldly said, "Oh, looks like we've caught up with the Situ Junior General." Situ Shio couldn't run anymore and sat down heavily on the ground. What fate awaited her now? Situ Shio really couldn't run anymore. She was directly captured by the enemy. The general on horseback walked straight towards Situ Shio. The inexperienced young lady was so frightened her face turned pale instantly. Monster is coming. Since birth, she had never seen such a sight. Even his two eyes were different colors. Sha country had always been very powerful, and Sha Tsangyu was known as the god of war. He had conquered in all directions without a single defeat. Rumors said he was handsome and extraordinary. Although his eyes were different colors, many women still fell in love with him. But now, Miss Situ had no time to think about such romantic matters. She only knew that if she was captured as a prisoner, it wouldn't end well. Seeing the blood on Songyu's lips deepened Miss Situ's fear even more. Now she had only one thought. She had to run. Without thinking, Miss Situ took off running. As she ran, she thought of her mother at home. She had told her mother that impersonating her brother to go to war was inappropriate. How could a useless person who knew nothing possibly replace her brother, who was skilled in all 18 martial arts? Sending her here when she wasn't capable. Did her mother even know if she was her real daughter? Miss Situ ran while complained while crying, and sprinted towards the city gate like a fleeing duck. Songyu coldly frowned, wondering what trick the Shao general was trying to pull. On the Xia countryside, seeing General Shao's faint silhouette, they immediately reported to Zhao Zhe, "General Shao has started moving. We should lead the light cavalry to support him." The soldiers were also filled with fighting spirit, ready for a big battle. Just as they were about to set out, they were stopped by the calm Zhao Zhe. With a wave of his hand, he told the guards to calm down. Everyone was confused. Then he asked Deputy Commander Lin if he remembered old General Situ's exceptional skills. Deputy Commander Lin thought for a moment. He understood General Zhao's meaning. Could General Zhao's move be a strategy? A tactic where the rest of the troops only need to wait and see? Zhao just said, years ago, the old general led the charge against tens of thousands of enemies, and from then on, he was feared in all directions. Surely, General Zhao has inherited the old general's perfect bloodline. So, this running back must be a tactic. After hearing General Zhao's words, everyone suddenly understood and was overjoyed. The soldiers also applauded General Zhao, admiring his commendable courage. Young, yet strategic. So, following the general's insight, they decided not to interfere with General Zhao's tactics and retreated inside the pass to observe the situation. With the heavy sound of the gate closing, Situ Xiu's escape route was also cut off. She was stunned, watching the distant city gate close, leaving her alone and confused in the wind. What kind of tactic was this? Was she being used as bait? This also shocked the enemy. The small dark-faced man with blue eyes urgently reported to his boss. They've gone inside, leaving a general outside. Could it be a trap? Should we fight or not? The imposing man on horseback coldly said, "You're talking more nonsense than ever." The masked man then took out his bow and arrow, drawing and shooting in one fluid motion. It was a dashing sight. One arrow pierced Situ Xiu's large robe, making her look as pitiful as trapped prey. Miss Situ lay in the snow, waiting for rescue to capture her. The Xia country general watching from afar anxiously said, "But what awaits her isn't rescue, but becoming a pitiful prisoner. This is bad. General Zhao is about to be captured." But Zhao had a different understanding, thinking General Zhao was pretending to fall to make the enemy lower their guard. Situ Xiu was thus captured alive. Her already fair skin looked even paler, her expression miserable and fearful, giving a pitiful appearance. She cried incessantly all the way. How could this young lady have ever suffered such humiliation, being tossed around like this? She was only here to replace her brother on the battlefield, and now she was being captured by the enemy. She was going to die. Situ Xiu shed tears of sorrow. "We've captured the Xia country's junior general. Please decide, boss." Xia country is really pathetic this time. "Boss, look, this kid is even crying." The man on horseback showed no emotion. He still spoke coldly. "I guess Xia country won't dare to act rashly. The snow is getting heavy. Let's head back first." Hearing this, Situ Xiu became even more frightened. This sounded like they were going to take her back for torture. She was just a delicate young lady. How could she endure that? Situ Xiu couldn't hold back anymore and let out a pitiful sob that tugged at one's heartstrings. The man on horseback glanced at Situ Xiu. Her crying made him feel uncomfortable and irritated. He grabbed the small and thin Situ Xiu and said coldly, "Kid, you'd better hold back those tears. Otherwise, I'll have you drawn and quartered." Hearing the words drawn and quartered, Situ Xiu couldn't help but imagine herself being torn apart. But this time, she successfully held back her tears, because she fainted from fear. "Boss, he's passed out." The man on horseback's expression froze. What was wrong with this kid? Crying one moment, fainting the next. He didn't look like General Zhao at all. The other side was also observing. A scout reported, "General Zhao, our junior general has really been captured." Zhao remained completely calm. In his mind, the junior general had deliberately allowed himself to be captured to spy on the enemy. Everyone who heard this exclaimed that it was a brilliant tactic. So, under the watchful eyes of the Xia country soldiers, Situ Xiu was carried away on horseback by the enemy troops, heading west to their camp. Inside the camp, Situ Xiu was thrown to the ground, bound tightly. In her daze, she heard a cold yet pleasant voice. "Everyone return to your posts. Strengthen the defenses." "Yes, boss." Whose voice was that? Situ Xiu slowly opened her eyes, wanting to see who this man with the deep voice was. It turned out to be the enemy country's demon. She then recalled the demon's earlier threat to have her drawn and quartered. Panic grew in her heart. Her already stuttering mouth still managed to shout loudly, "No, no." She struggled, moving back and forth excitedly, and ended up hitting her head on the pillar behind her. This stunned the beautiful demon, who had never seen such a foolish person before. However, the demon quickly regained his composure. He approached Situ Xiu step by step, his eyes cold and merciless. Grabbing Situ Xiu's collar, he demanded, "Kid, tell me how many troops Xia country has in total. How many border guards? How many cavalry?" Song Yu tightly gripped Situ Xiu's collar. But unexpectedly, at that moment of contact, Situ Shio's heart skipped a beat. He touched my chest. Is it really that flat? He seemed to feel nothing. Situ Shio was devastated. She wanted to remind Song Yu of his uncivilized behavior, but her stutter kicked in again. Seeing her stammering, the king became angrier and increased his force, treating Situ Shio more roughly. He remained completely unaware of where his hand was placed. Situ Shio felt hopeless. Was she really that flat? This demon man touched her chest and felt nothing. It was truly heartbreaking. But the demon man didn't care about these things. What he cared about was getting this junior general to hand over the military camp map. He didn't know that this junior general had been a stutterer since childhood. This angered Song Yu. The short one kept silent. Was he playing games with him? At this moment, Situ Shio also gathered her courage and loudly said a few words without stuttering. I don't know. This, I don't know, made a bloodthirsty smile appear on Song Yu's face. It seemed she was choosing the hard way. This incredibly handsome face now showed a hint of excitement. He took out his dagger and swung it down. Let me cut off your ear. The blade came down without any hesitation. It was only 1 or 2 centimeters away from cutting off Situ Shio's fair little ear. But it didn't happen. Situ Shio's hair came undone, cascading down like a waterfall. Tears welled up in her eyes. Upon closer inspection, her skin was like congealed cream, her face like a peach blossom. Unaware of what had happened, Situ Shio continued to beg for mercy. Her face turned red from crying out of extreme fear. Song Yu looked at the man before him, and a strange feeling spread in his heart. Situ Jian, are you still an iron-willed man? I really am not a man. Situ Shio wanted to cry, but had no tears left. She really wasn't a man. How could she explain this? Where should she start? This, I am not a man, only made Song Yu think he was a coward afraid of death, unwilling to admit he was a man. Song Yu was furious. In his life, he despised such shameless people the most. Since he was a shameless person, there was no need to leave him any face. He ordered to strip him naked and throw him into the horse manure. Situ Shio was shocked. Tears kept rolling down her cheeks, but she received no sympathy from Song Yu. As Song Yu's rough hands were about to remove her clothes, pulling them down to her chest, a picture suddenly fell out. Song Yu looked closely. It turned out that the Xia doctor had drawn the military camp map on soft cloth. Situ Shio's eyes widened. Wasn't this the 100 flowers in bloom she had embroidered for the women's handicraft competition? How could it be mistaken for a map? Was her embroidery really that bad? Song Yu smiled. Junior General, you should have been sensible earlier. But his smile froze in less than a second. The silk-skinned person in front of him was enticing. In a blink of an eye, the dignified Xia country's junior general actually looked like a girl. In Song Yu's confusion, Situ Shio was locked in a cage. Watch him closely. Don't let him escape. Song Yu still spoke coldly to her. If you dare to run, I'll tear you apart. Miss Situ repeatedly said that she wouldn't escape. At this moment, Miss Situ had no mood to think about escaping. Her mind was filled with Song Yu's rough treatment and the fact that she could never get married now. On the 3rd day after Situ Shio was captured, our war god Song Yu and his 12 generals were deeply puzzled. Why? After we captured the Xia country's junior general 3 days ago, have they shown no reaction at all? Song Yu was perplexed. One of the 12 generals, Xiaozu, said, maybe, I guess, this junior general isn't that important. Impossible. He's the descendant of Xia's hero. How can he not be important? Song Yu was confused by this nonsensical statement. At this moment, Song Yu took out Situ Shio's needlework that was to be sent for competition. He said seriously, this is what I found on him. Bringing out this item stunned all the generals. Boss, what is this thing? You have no eye for detail. This is the map of the military camp at North Yuguan. The crowd was skeptical. Is it real or fake? Let's call that kid over and we'll know. However, there was now a problem. The 12 generals' faces were filled with great confusion. Why is Situ Jian outside? Wasn't he locked up? A general hurriedly explained. Boss, let me explain. It's like this. Soldier A from Xia country, who had served in the army for decades, felt for the first time that joining the army was a beautiful mistake. Woo-woo. Let me out. Woo-woo. Just like that, Soldier A broke down crying. Crying, still crying. Except for eating and sleeping, it was all crying. But why could this junior general cry continuously? Soldier A's psychological defense completely crumbled. Soldier A begged. One of the 12 generals, Ji Yin, said he couldn't take it anymore. Brother Ji Yin, please change the guard. Ji Yin approached the cage. He originally wanted to secretly take a look at this capable junior general. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his cloak. He looked down. A pair of walnut eyes that had been crying for days and nights stared at him. Rather than being half-dead begging for mercy, brave warrior, I can do laundry. Will you let me out? Because he felt too sorry for his subordinate, he took it upon himself to let him out. Moreover, he felt this junior general was really honest. Look, boss, he's washing your bedding now. Yian smiled bitterly. At this moment, someone came to report, Boss, the Imperial Junior General just tore a hole in your bedding while washing it. The scene became extremely awkward. There was complete silence. Xiaozu, bring that sissy kid back. I have questions for him. He was Xiaozu. Inko arrived. Boss Situ Xiao is coming over trembling, as if walking on thin ice. His eyes are full of infinite terror. Song Yu directly picked up Situ Xiao. Then he pointed at Situ Xiao's needlework and asked, What is this? Situ Xiao looked at it. This place was embroidered with a lotus flower. But unfortunately, being a stutterer and nervous, she couldn't say it clearly. It's Lolo. Song Yu forgot he was a stutterer. He even asked the people around him why he spoke so haltingly. The generals around quickly replied, Boss, he's a stutterer. All the brothers sent to interrogate him later were defeated. Song Yu thought, a stutterer. How can he have so many issues? Situ Xiao wanted to show herself at this moment. She must muster up courage and say a complete sentence loudly. It's a lotus flower. It's a granary. Situ Xiao's speech was unclear, and someone directly heard it as granary. Song Yu recalled that earlier, a spy had reported that the granary was in that location. It seemed the map was real. We'll start the operation tonight. Burn down Xia country's granary. At night, Song Yu led his generals to infiltrate Xia country's North Yuguan. Following the map, they found a residence. Boss, this must be it. Look, there are even soldiers lined up guarding it. Song Yu ordered, set fire. A raging fire spread. Fire! Someone come quickly. With the shouts from Xia country, Song Yu's subordinates felt they had surely won. They planned to return first, regroup tomorrow, and then directly take North Yuguan. So they set off to return. Before they could even finish a bowl of rice, they heard a loud shout. Fire! Our outhouse is on fire! When Song Yu heard the word outhouse, his foot slipped and he directly hit a pillar. Several Xia country soldiers were discussing in one place. Why would the outhouse catch fire? Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and put out the fire. At this moment, a general suspected his subordinates were warming themselves by the fire in the outhouse. But General Zhao had already ordered that no one could light fires privately. Who would dare to do such a thing? The soldiers rushed to extinguish the fire. If the outhouse burned down, where would they relieve themselves in the future? Song Yu's face turned dark. He was speechless. He was also afraid of being discovered and felt embarrassed, so he directly put on a veil. The stables of Xia country are so low. Boss, is your forehead okay? A soldier said hurriedly. We seem to have made a mistake. The soldier laughed awkwardly. This phrase, we made a mistake, only stabbed at Song Yu's heart. Song Yu gritted his teeth and said word by word, We were never here tonight. Everyone go back and bring Situ Jian to my tent. I want to hang him up and beat him. On the other side, two main generals of Xia country did not participate in the outhouse fire rescue operation. Instead, they sat together, talking by candlelight late into the night. They felt that their decision to hold their troops was correct. In front of them was a note. The map is fake. The general is safe. It seems that Junior General Situ is truly capable, actually able to deceive the sharp-eyed Song Yu with a fake map. Zhao Zhe was overjoyed. Deputy General Lin was also moved to tears. They felt that Situ Jian had finally grown up. It seemed that the old generals entrusting him with military affairs before leaving was unnecessary. Uncle Lin felt very comforted. Zhao Zhe smiled and said, No need to worry this time, right? General Zhao being captured was just a tactic. Now it seems General Zhao is still one step ahead. Speaking of which, when did this General Zhao come over? Deputy General Lin was very confused. When Situ Xiao stepped into Song Yu's tent, it was just dawn. The soft light of dawn shone on Song Yu's cheeks, making him look as handsome as jade and majestic. Situ Xiao was shocked by this scene. Her face turned slightly red. She thought to herself, this monster looks quite good when he's not fierce. But the beautiful moment lasted only 3 seconds. Song Yu's face completely changed. He grabbed Situ Xiao's hair and shouted, You little brat, how dare you deceive me? Not knowing what had happened, Situ Shio was of course terrified. What happened? She said, followed by tears streaming out. Song Yu thought, how come he's crying again? I haven't even started threatening yet. How has a man who cries and whimpers like this survived until today? Song Yu threw him aside. Situ Shio fell and cried out. Song Yu slammed the map on Situ Shio's face, demanding an explanation of what was going on. Situ Shio cried a river of tears, almost breaking down. This was fake to begin with. How could she explain? Can you not stutter? Speak quickly, or I'll skin you alive. Situ Shio trembled all over, stuttering anxiously. No, please, I'll talk. I'll tell the truth. Where's the map? And what is this piece of cloth? Song Yu roared. Situ Shio pretended to be calm, but couldn't help shaking, and told the truth. Actually, I don't have a map. This is my needlework. Song Yu was confused. What is needlework? Song Yu had a bad feeling about this thing. Situ Shio, however, looked shy and said, this is embroidery. After saying this, she even made a few gestures of embroidering. Song Yu's mind went blank. Is this guy a pervert? But our great General Song Yu had never thought of Situ Shio as a woman. He only suspected that he was just effeminate. Situ Shio waved her hands frantically, trying to prove she was a woman. But when nervous, she started stuttering again. She wanted to say she was a woman, but this made Song Yu misunderstand again. Song Yu, the young general of Sha country, had always looked forward to a battle with the heir of the Situ family. But now it seemed he was just a pervert who could embroider. Situ Shio was on the verge of tears. She said she was no longer a junior general. The mystery was solved. Why hadn't the Xia army made any moves? It turned out he had captured a fake junior general. But Song Yu carefully observed Situ Shio. Combining this with previous rumors, he became more certain of his thoughts. Song Yu looked down at Situ Shio condescendingly, coldly suspecting, you're trying to deceive me again. He had thought he could accept her female identity, but unexpectedly, Song Yu still doubted her. The following voice became even colder. To survive, General Shao was really full of lies, Song Yu thought contemptuously. Everyone in the world knows that Situ Jian's height is only 5 chi. 1 chi equals 33 centimeters. This means Situ Shio is 165 centimeters, but Situ Jian is 165.1 centimeters. Song Yu called for Shao loudly. A dark-skinned young man came in, rubbing his head. He asked what instructions the boss had. Song Yu pointed at Situ Shio on the bed. This guy is useless now. Drag him out and give him 100 lashes. Hearing the words 100 lashes, Situ Shio burst into tears immediately. No, don't beat me. I'm useful. Xiaozhua, this dark-skinned young man, even added thoughtfully, yeah, boss, he's still useful. There are still 3 big tubs of clothes outside. He can still wash them. Miss Situ was just feeling grateful to this guy who spoke up for her when this dark-skinned brother had already been kicked flying. Situ Shio suddenly remembered. Yesterday, she had washed Song Yu's bedsheets. Like a life-saving straw, she blurted it out. She kept saying, General, I've already mended the bedsheet. I even embroidered a morning glory on it for you. She even managed to squeeze out a smile on her face. Song Yu looked at that morning glory and rolled his eyes in anger. This little brat really had endless tricks up his sleeve. Song Yu's expression could no longer be described as gloomy. He was furious to the extreme. At this moment, Xiaozhua was still covering his mouth, laughing nonstop. He didn't dare make a sound, but tears were coming out from holding it in. Once outside, Xiaozhua burst into laughter. It was really too hard to describe. The officer guarding Situ Shio said to Xiaozhua, the boss seems particularly fierce towards this junior general. Xiaozhua's blue eyes looked at Situ Shio. This junior general's skin was as white as a girl's. Rubbing his chin, he muttered strangely. In the evening, thousands of lamps lit up the camp, creating a unique warmth. The 12 war generals were participating. People in the tent were discussing. The boss returned this morning and immediately mocked the general for losing his temper. He still hasn't calmed down? Don't mention it. The boss's reputation as the god of war was almost ruined by that kid. Song Yu looked at the map, but his heart was filled with anger. What was there to discuss? Situ Jian, that sissy, was just a jinx. When everyone was about to rest after the meeting was dismissed, Situ Shio was still outside hanging bedsheets. Song Yu saw him and felt annoyed. He ordered the guards to lock him up again. Situ Shio heard Song Yu's voice and instinctively shuddered. Snowflakes suddenly started floating around, drifting gently. Song Yu stared at the snowflakes. How could snow drift without wind? Following his years of battle instinct, he looked up. He saw a cold glint of light, and icy swords were all aimed at him. Song Yu barely dodged. It's an enemy attack, Song Yu shouted. In an instant, all the soldiers in the camp were on alert. The situation was somewhat precarious. Could it be people sent by Xia country? Song Yu swung his blade, ending one person's life. He turned his head to look for Situ Xiao. As a result, Situ Xiao was dragging her foot chains, screaming help. Someone's dead while running. She was calling for help everywhere. Help, help, help. The general is under attack. Song Yu's anger rose. This little brat actually took the chance to escape in the chaos. Situ Xiao was calling for help everywhere. Because of her cries for help, many soldiers came. Song Yu's side also got the situation under control. Xiaozhua asked the boss which group of attackers this was. Was it the same as the ones encountered before? Song Yu didn't answer Xiaozhua's question. Instead, he inquired about Situ Jian's whereabouts. Xiaozhua was also clueless. He could only helplessly reply that Ji Yin had taken him back to the cage. Song Yu strode away to go to where Situ Jian was being held and ordered the guards to keep one attacker alive. A hint of coldness flashed in Song Yu's eyes. If these attackers were from Xia country, then the place where Situ Jian was being held would be exactly what the enemy wanted. A diversion tactic. On the other side, Situ Xiao was walking alone in the snow and wind. Her snow-white, delicate skin compared to the snow was not inferior at all, even surpassing it. He had actually escaped from the military camp. How did this happen? Recalling the war general Ji Yin who took him back to the cage because he was worried about the boss's safety, he told the junior general to just keep walking to the right, and he would return to the cage. Watching Ji Yan's hurriedly departing figure, the foolish Situ Xiao indeed did as told. She kept walking to the right and seemed to be lucky enough not to encounter any patrol soldiers. She stumbled out of the military camp by mistake. Just as she was thinking about being able to go home, Song Yu let out a roar, galloping towards her alone. Situ Xiao trembled as she looked back. Just hearing the voice was already frightening. Situ Xiao could only explain that she had gotten lost and couldn't find her way back. In her mind, she suddenly remembered what Song Yu had said before. Junior General, if you dare to run, I'll tear you apart. The more she thought about it, the more scared she became. She then collapsed in the snow. Song Yu grabbed Situ Xiao in one swift motion. Angrily, he said if it wasn't for her intentional act, how could all the camp gate guards have disappeared? There was no one there to begin with. Situ Xiao still stuttered in response. This made Song Yu feel strange. Moreover, the surroundings were too quiet. Situ Xiao suddenly saw something shiny in the distance. What was that shiny thing? It was an arrow. Situ Xiao realized. Mustering all her strength, she pushed Song Yu away, wanting to save him. Song Yu glanced at the distance from the corner of his eye. Thinking that he and Situ Jian were very close just now, he guessed that the person in hiding wanted to kill two birds with one stone. Then the attackers were not from Xia country. But such arrows were nothing in the eyes of the god of war. The arrow couldn't possibly hit him. However, because of Situ Xiao's push, Song Yu, who was originally prepared, was hit by the arrow. Miss Situ looked at the god of war's purpling face and felt that she was going to be in trouble. Song Yu was gritting his teeth in pain. He really had this jinx to thank. Extraordinarily, an arrow that he could dodge with his eyes closed had hit him. Song Yu suddenly roared in a low voice. Dodging aside, he threw his spear in the direction the arrow came from. It shot out instantly. A large patch of red seeped into the snow on the opposite side. Situ Xiao had never seen such a scene. Her face turned pale with fright. She only heard 4 words by her ear. Come back with me. Situ Xiao nodded repeatedly, saying okay in response. But at this moment, Song Yu directly knelt on one knee. His face looked very unwell. Obviously, the arrow was poisoned. Even a strong man like Song Yu couldn't resist the effects of the poison. He fell onto the snow. General, Situ Xiao exclaimed, only now realizing what he had said earlier about the arrow being poisoned. So the general was dead. The general was dead. This was exactly what Situ Xiao wished for. Since that was the case, if she didn't escape now, when would she? This was the best opportunity for Situ Xiao to run away. Just as she was about to get up, her ankle was grabbed. The enormous force made her fall into the snow immediately. Don't run away, Song Yu warned Situ Xiao harshly. Those sharp wolf-like eyes contained intense danger. Situ Xiao quickly apologized, saying she wouldn't leave. At this moment, Situ Xiao noticed that the general and his jet-black hair had a hint of white. He looked up at the sky. It was snowing. Everything was unreal in its beauty. His snow-white skin appeared even brighter in the night light. A hint of bewilderment was added to his beautiful eyes. He looked at Song Yu in the snow, helped him onto the horse, feeling a bit uneasy. He began to doubt himself. Why was he helping an enemy general? Was it because he was injured? Song Yu's eyes were also fixed on him. At the same time, he tightly held one of Situ Shio's hands. The palm was scorching hot. Situ Shio felt as if struck by electricity, his face turning red with embarrassment. It felt like something had hit his heart. Situ Shio took the initiative to lead the horse, guiding Song Yu back. But don't forget, Situ Shio was a stutterer and had no sense of direction. There wasn't this snow slope before. It seemed they were lost. Hearing the words lost, Song Yu used his last bit of strength to tell Situ Shio there was a snow cave to the southwest. Following Song Yu's directions, they arrived at the snow cave. He helped him down. The poison on the sword seemed to be soft gold powder, causing Song Yu to lose strength. He decided to trust Situ Shio this time. He wanted her to help with the sword. Forget about can or can't. Situ Shio rarely even heard the word sword. Song Yu could only guide her step by step. First, make a fire. I have a flint on me. Situ Shio carefully felt around. Hard muscles, but no flint. Could it be somewhere else? A frantic search made Song Yu feel uncomfortable. What are you groping for? Song Yu was about to explode. The flint, Situ Shio replied, face red with embarrassment. It's in the hidden pocket of the cloak, not on my body. Song Yu's forehead was covered in cold sweat. It seemed he couldn't hold on much longer. After some guidance, Situ Shio finally found the flint and planned to gather some firewood. Song Yu's expression changed. He looked at Situ Shio's back with a deep gaze. Situ Jian touched, and the man actually blushed. Does he like this? Situ Shio was even more distracted. When leaving the snow cave, she tripped over her own shackles and fell hard onto the snow. Song Yu watched awkwardly. Damn perverted kid. That fall was quite funny. Song Yu leaned back against the snow cave's stone wall, recalling the scene of Situ Shio searching for the flint. He thought to himself, his hands were actually quite soft. Blowing the flint was a skillful task. Unfortunately, Situ Shio couldn't do anything. After blowing for a long time, there was still no flame. Watching Situ Shio use all her strength, Song Yu's anger rose. Barely containing his urge to hit her, he shouted, "Give it to me!" Situ Shio was obedient, gently handing over the flint. Song Yu effortlessly blew once, and the flint immediately started to smoke. Seeing the smoking, warm flint, Situ Shio couldn't help but praise Song Yu with starry eyes. "You're amazing." Situ Shio's eyes twinkled, giving off a cute and delicate feeling. Song Yu gazed at Situ Shio's smile. For a moment, he actually thought this kid's smile was truly adorable. He was almost enchanted. After lighting the fire, Situ Shio's hands trembled. Holding the military knife, she asked Song Yu how to remove the sword. Song Yu was almost out of breath from anger at this kid. The wound on his body was getting more painful, and he was about to faint. His heterochromatic eyes looked at the trembling Situ Shio. At this moment, Song Yu became gentle and calm. "Don't be afraid. I'll teach you. You can definitely do it." This extremely gentle phrase echoed in Situ Shio's ears. It struck deep into the girl's soul. This was the first time she had heard encouragement and comfort from others. However, for 18 years, Situ Shio had never done anything well. A hint of determination unconsciously arose in Situ Shio's heart, feeling that perhaps this time she could do well. She let out a soft nasal sound, then began to remove the sword under Song Yu's guidance. She was very serious, her movements extremely careful. Her previously trembling hands became steady as she gripped tightly. But the little girl who had never done this kind of work before still broke out in nervous sweat. With a deep breath, she pulled out the sword. The blood-stained sword fell with a thud. Song Yu felt great pain, but only let out a light groan. Situ Shio, who had never seen such a scene, was shocked. How come there's suddenly so much blood? I didn't. At this moment, a deep voice rang out. "Don't panic." It was like a sedative. It soothed Situ Shio's mind. "Use hair instead of thread to stitch. You like embroidery, so stitching a wound shouldn't be difficult." After saying this, he took off his clothes, revealing his muscular arms. Situ Shio's eyes were filled with tears, afraid yet moved. Her slender fingers took out a needle. She used her own hair to stitch Song Yu's wound. That night, blood fell silently. Her serious expression and gentleness remained in her mind. As she lost blood, her consciousness began to blur. Situ Shio gently bit off the hair with her white teeth. This scene made Song Yu's heart tingle. Song Yu smiled and said very gently, "Well done." Then Song Yu fell into a deep sleep. Situ Xiu could no longer hold back. The grievance and sadness inside her began to erupt. She could only cover her mouth and cry silently, because it was the first time in all these years that someone had praised her for doing well. The general wasn't scary, nor was he a monster. He was even somewhat considerate. Situ Xiu thoughtfully pulled Song Yu's clothes back on and also fell into a deep sleep. The next day, as sunlight melted the snow, it began to brighten. Song Yu slightly opened his eyes. His strength returned along with the weather. The first thing he did upon waking was to look for the young general. Had Situ Jian escaped while he was unconscious? Just as Song Yu was about to grab his cloak and go out to chase, he noticed a smaller figure to his lower right, curled up in a ball, sleeping soundly, snoring away. Just as he was about to wake up this frail young general, Song Yu heard the sound of hooves. "Boss, we've been worried about you all night. What about the escaped young general?" It turned out reinforcements had arrived. Song Yu's expression was somewhat complex. "Tell the soldiers, Situ Jian didn't escape. He's inside." Song Yu took out the sword that had previously pierced his chest and asked his 12 generals, "Do you see anything unusual about this sword?" "This is the attacker's weapon. Like last time, we couldn't capture any of them alive despite our best efforts." Song Yu frowned and said coldly, "No need. This bronze sword is used by the death squads raised by the Xia Kingdom's royal family. Legend has it that children with purple eyes are treasures bestowed upon the Xia Kingdom by heaven. Princess Helianjiu of Xia, because of her purple eyes, was loved and supported by all the people of Xia from birth. Whatever Helianjiu wanted, she always got. But fate often takes twists and turns. Like now, Helianjiu stood in the garden. Her slender fingers grasped the flowers. She plucked them carelessly. The young girl was lost in thought. Why hasn't he replied to me? It's clear he doesn't take me, a princess, seriously at all. Helianjiu was fuming, muttering to herself. Beside her, a boy of not very tall stature, with black bangs covering the upper half of his face, said worriedly, "Princess, be careful with your hands." Helianjiu, still angry, retorted casually, "Little gardener, shut up. What has made our little Jiu so angry?" A young man with a gentle smile approached. He was tall, fair-skinned, with well-defined features. His eyebrows were slightly raised, and when he smiled, it was as gentle as a breeze caressing flower petals. His black hair fell smoothly behind him. The silk clothes he wore and the green gemstones embedded in them highlighted his extraordinary temperament and distinguished status. Seeing the newcomer, the young girl smiled knowingly and immediately dismissed those around her. The girl threw herself into the young man's arms, calling him royal brother in a coquettish manner. This was her most beloved third royal brother, Helian Lang, the outstanding man admired by countless women across the country. Helian Lang gently stroked Helianjiu's hair. He whispered softly in her ear, "Royal brother guesses your anger has something to do with General Tsong." The girl, her thoughts exposed, dejectedly buried her head in Helian Lang's embrace. She asked her royal brother why Yu Gij didn't like her, never replying to any of her messages. Helian Lang didn't understand why little Jiu was so stubbornly infatuated with him. Helianjiu turned around and said straightforwardly, "I am infatuated. I just like him." She began to recall the first time she saw Song Yu. One evening a year ago, Helianjiu was heading to the rear palace to study etiquette and music. She was walking hurriedly when she overheard two maids gossiping nearby. "Did you see the war god?" "I saw him. He's so handsome. I heard he just reclaimed the Man country and is about to meet his majesty." Helianjiu's curiosity was piqued. She hadn't seen the war god yet. Driven by curiosity, Helianjiu sneaked into her father's palace. That's how she first saw him. The princess hid behind a pillar. The evening sunlight filtered through the gaps, gently touching the dark, cold man. It illuminated his shimmering silver armor and softened his handsome face. He had his head slightly bowed, kneeling on one knee before the noble king. His upright black hair naturally fell over his cloak. Sunlight poured into the entire palace, also softening his surroundings. She clearly remembered his appearance and his deep voice. At that moment, all the lights in the world couldn't compare to half of his radiance. The princess was stunned by him, her heart skipping a beat. She thought to herself, I'm a princess. Song Yu is the war god. We're the perfect match. But Song Yu's coldness brought this princess back to reality. Song Yu, being so straightforward, paid no attention to the princess's feelings. Moreover, he never replied to her messages. The Shah City princess couldn't even take advantage of her proximity. She complained to her royal brother, grumbling about Song Yu's coldness and her own unwillingness to give up. At this moment, the third royal brother had a sudden idea. Whether it was a good idea or a bad one was unclear. He said, if you want to take advantage of your position, why not ask father for a royal decree to bestow marriage between you and General Tsang? As for feelings, you can develop them slowly after marriage. Hearing her third royal brother's words, the princess had an epiphany. Excited, her face turned red with embarrassment. She then jumped up, cheering, yes, I can ask father to arrange the marriage. The third royal brother added, Little Gio, remember, if you want someone, you must fight for them yourself. Otherwise, they might become someone else's. It seems this third royal brother wasn't so innocent either. After hearing her third royal brother's advice, the princess thanked him and left, skipping happily. She came before the king. She didn't care how tired her father was after just discussing military affairs, and burst into the great hall. This father was indeed good-tempered. His stern gaze immediately softened upon seeing the little princess. He said indulgently, What is it, my dear little princess? The princess glanced casually and noticed her father was once again gazing intently at a painting. She didn't know what kind of enchanting woman was depicted in that painting. Her mother was wholeheartedly devoted to her father, yet it couldn't compare to even a fraction of her father's affection for the woman in the painting. The princess disregarded those thoughts and boldly spoke up, Father, your daughter wants a marriage decree. The clever king seemed to have guessed his daughter's thoughts and naturally replied that if it involved Song Yu, it wouldn't be possible. Hearing her father's answer, the girl's hair stood on end. Why not? Song Yu was the eldest son of the prime minister, held the title of war god, had reclaimed the Man country, and had been continuously victorious. Now he had even captured the young general of Xia country. Victory was assured. Was he not worthy of a foreign princess? The king didn't answer. He just took the painting of the beauty and gently tapped the princess's little head. Little Nine, don't be willful. Father still needs to choose someone to escort Situ Jian to Tiansha City. You'd better behave yourself. The king's reply was very firm, which the usually pampered princess couldn't accept. That night, the ninth princess cried bitterly. She couldn't understand why her father had flatly refused. She lay on her bed, crying nonstop. Her wet nurse, unable to bear seeing the princess like this, came to console her. Not everything in this world goes as we wish. Since His Majesty doesn't agree, princess, you shouldn't persist. After hearing her wet nurse's words, the princess suddenly remembered her royal brother's advice. If she didn't fight for herself, he would eventually belong to someone else. This sentence rang like an alarm bell, further strengthening the princess's resolve. No, the princess wouldn't let Song Yu marry another girl. Just as the wet nurse had a vague sense of foreboding, the pampered princess made a grand decision. She would go to the battlefield to escort the young general of Xia country to Tiansha City. Upon hearing this, the wet nurse was stunned. Miss Situ had lived for 18 years and was still unmarried. She had hoped to wear a phoenix crown and cloudy robes, marrying a gentle and caring husband. After their wedding, they would share a bed and live lovingly. But she never expected fate to be so exciting. It skipped the clarification step entirely and went straight to sharing a bed with this man. Because there was only one blanket, Song Yu decided to sleep together with this guy. He took off his clothes, not treating Sidu Xiao as an outsider. He told her, "You're small, sleep on the inside." Sidu Xiao was so embarrassed she dared not open her eyes. Her cheeks were flushed red, hands clasped together, reciting Umitba. This 18-year-old single had never seen such a grand scene. How was she supposed to sleep? The story goes back to this morning in that snow cave. Sidu Xiao woke up from a sweet dream. Song Yu told her to follow him back. But unexpectedly, the first thing Sidu Xiao did upon waking was to ask if Song Yu's wound had healed. Song Yu didn't answer, just told Sidu Xiao to get on the horse. Getting on a horse was another nightmare. Sidu Xiao couldn't ride at all. This also shocked Song Yu. How could a young general not know how to ride a horse? Song Yu didn't care about that. He swiftly mounted the horse and casually picked up Situ Xiao, placing her in front of him. He couldn't help but marvel at how light this young general was, just like a woman. A large army galloped back to camp, but Song Yu seemed to be going slower. He suddenly asked Sidu Xiao, Who are you? Sidu Shio was shocked. Had he discovered her identity? Last night, while Sidu Shio was sound asleep, Song Yu had checked her pulse and discovered that this young general didn't know martial arts. If he wasn't the young general of Xia country, then who was he? Seeing the situation, Sidu Shio had no choice but to confess. I am Sidu Shio, the general's daughter. She gathered her courage to tell the truth. She thought she could relax and return to Xia country, but this straightforward man didn't believe her. He thought she was imagining herself as a woman. How could there be such a flat-chested woman in the world? Saying this, he even tapped Situ Shio's chest a few times. It really was as flat as a plane. This action truly angered her. Situ Shio, how could she explain that she really was a girl? Song Yu completely ignored Situ Shio's embarrassed expression. He continued talking about how the emperor had sent an order the day before yesterday, asking General Hushi to escort you back to Tiansha City. Now that he knew you were an imposter, it was troublesome. You would be killed. When Situ Shio heard that she was going to die, she started crying again. Song Yu just calmly left the sentence. I'll handle it. Don't worry. After returning to the camp, Song Yu didn't put Situ Shio in a cage. Instead, he openly placed her in his own tent. Regarding the matter of the real or fake young general, he never mentioned it. Until tonight, when they had to share a bed, Song Yu couldn't understand what Situ Jian was being awkward about. Situ Shio expressed her concern. My mother said that sleeping in the same bed with a man will result in having children. This statement angered Song Yu. He turned and pressed down on her body, thinking this kid's perverted tendencies were acting up again. He secretly vowed to correct Situ Shio's perverted habits, to turn him into a tough, manly man. Situ Shio had no choice. She could only share a bed with this man. Surrounded by his scent, Situ Shio's cheeks burned hot, and she directly fainted. The war god Song Yu kept his word and took action to train Situ Shio to become a man. As a soldier, one must know how to ride a horse. If memory serves, this was the fourth time Situ Shio had seen a horse. She swallowed hard and mustered the courage to stroke the steed. The horse only responded slightly. Situ Shio ran 10 meters away, shouting while running, "It's really too scary." It seemed the horse really disliked Situ Shio, but Song Yu grabbed her again and put her on the horse. He carefully instructed, "You fool, what are you doing? Swing your right leg over. Open your eyes." The fool, but the horse seemed to dislike Situ Shio. It always disobeyed her commands. At this moment, Song Yu pressed his forehead against the horse's face, whispering something to it, carefully comforting it. The horse instantly became obedient and calm. The general's face also looked gentler. He softly told Situ Shio not to be afraid and to look straight ahead. This filled Situ Shio's heart with confidence. She also gained more trust in Song Yu. It seems this monster can be gentle sometimes. After a series of instructions, Situ Shio finally managed to mount the horse successfully. Song Yu planned to first take Situ Shio for a short ride, to feel the guidance. Situ Shio leaned forward, ready to start running. Then Song Yu tightened the reins. The horse was also unusually docile and lovely in his hands. After a period of galloping, Situ Shio found her rhythm. It seems that horseback riding isn't particularly difficult. As long as you have confidence, you can succeed. This was the first time in her life she had done something well. She was elated and was about to thank Song Yu. When she turned her head, she unexpectedly bumped into Song Yu's nose tip, almost kissing him. Such intimate contact made both of them feel strange. Song Yu quickly retreated. He let Situ Shio practice on her own. Because of the recent intimate contact, Situ Shio's heart was racing like a little deer, unable to sort out this unusual feeling inside. She focused on learning to ride a horse. Several hours later, under Song Yu's careful guidance, Situ Shio made some progress. She could even stop the horse smoothly. She immediately blurted out, "I can ride a horse now." Even the war god Song Yu felt this kid had some talent. She didn't even stutter anymore and could express gratitude clearly. Situ Shio's stutter was probably caused by her personality. If she could be braver and stronger, she actually wasn't bad at all. Situ Shio was moved to tears by Song Yu's words. This was the first time someone had praised her like this. Regarding not stuttering, Situ Shio expressed her shock. But then Song Yu immediately said something discouraging. "It's good that you don't stutter anymore. Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't be able to find a wife in the future." So, how exactly should Situ Shio prove that she's a girl for Song Yu to believe? Meanwhile, in the northern part of Xia country, General Zhao was playing chess with his soldiers. General Lin couldn't stand it anymore. He flipped the table in frustration. The young general has been captured for over a month now. How can you be so leisurely, playing chess here? General Zhao quickly explained that he had a plan. He took out a small note given to him by an insider and showed it to Lin Fei. Learning that the ninth princess would go to the battlefield, General Zhao's plan was to capture the ninth princess and make Xia country surrender. The spy had already made contact with General Xiao. In a few days, General Xiao would return safely. Lin Fei had thought General Zhao was an idiot, but now he realized he had misjudged General Zhao's intentions. He then inquired, "Who is this spy? How is he so capable?" General Zhao became excited when mentioning the spy. "I encountered this spy a year ago. I believe he is the savior of Xia country." Hearing this, Lin Fei sighed that it seemed too casual. He couldn't help but worry again about how General Xiao was doing these days. Of course, the fake young General Situ Xiao expressed that her days were unbearably difficult because Tsang Yu wanted to train her into a real man every day. Daily horse riding training left her body in unbearable pain. She could only tell Tsang Yu that she was a girl. Tsang Yu didn't believe it. "Although you look like one, please stop your fantasies. Go practice martial arts." Since Tsang Yu was determined to make Situ Xiao a man, he would take her out of the camp daily for individual training. Even his subordinates remarked, "The boss and the young general have changed. Since they spent a night outside and came back, their attitudes are clearly different. One used to be terrifyingly fierce, the other scared to death. How did they change like this?" They even discovered that they slept in the same bed the other day. Speaking of which, their boss Tsang Yu, at 22, hadn't married yet. Could it be? The soldiers suspected there was something between them. Some inappropriate images even appeared in their minds. Just as the young general was practicing martial arts outside the city, someone hurriedly came to find Tsang Yu, saying there was something to report. The ninth princess and general, who she had arrived on the other side. Situ Xiao had been practicing horse stance outdoors for over an incense stick's time. With the heavy snow, the scene was extremely romantic. At this moment, a subordinate came to report, breaking this beautiful atmosphere. The general had arrived at the military camp and hoped the boss would return soon to handle affairs. Looking up, he was shocked by this sweet scene before him. Tsang Yu thought to himself, the escorting troops arrived quite quickly. Even the ninth princess came along. In a moment of distraction, Situ Xiao lost her balance and fell into Tsang Yu's arms. They gazed sweetly at each other, as if it were a common occurrence. Pink bubbles seemed to burst in the air around them. The subordinate was dumbfounded. What was going on? The atmosphere was filled with a sugary sweetness, like a young couple flirting. This reminded him of what his comrades had said earlier. Could this really be the war god Tsang Yu and the frail young general? Tsang Yu ignored his subordinate's gaze, his eyes fixed only on Situ Xiao. He instructed her not to look around while riding back and carefully held the reins for her, preventing the little fool from falling again. The subordinate could only hurry to catch up on horseback, but he thought as long as the boss is happy, he could accept any situation. Speaking of which, this subordinate's level of acceptance was quite impressive. The military camp had an important guest today. Helian Jiao wanted to go to the battlefield, but was flatly refused by the king. So the ninth princess had sneaked out this time to see her beloved brother Tsang Yu. She intercepted General Hushi's traveling party, and the soldiers didn't dare to slight her. However, Hushi would have to answer to the Queen Mother now. It was bad enough that the ninth princess had sneaked out, but she didn't even bring her bodyguards. Instead, she brought Gardner. For Tsang Yu, this princess had become quite daring. Time was of the essence. Tsang Yu and the young general came to greet them. The ninth princess smiled upon seeing Tsang Yu, completely ignoring Hushi telling her not to act recklessly again. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at Tsang Yu. Of course, the fake young general also noticed. This girl was the pampered princess. Unlike her, raised in luxury since childhood, she looked dazzling and radiant, something Situ Xiao couldn't compare to. It was the first time Situ Xiao had seen such a beauty, and she was stunned. When the ninth princess saw Tsang Yu, she had eyes for no one else. She hugged him immediately, calling him Yugich, but Tsang Yu's eyes remained cold and emotionless. This scene made Situ Xiao's heart skip a beat, feeling a twinge of sourness. She didn't understand why she felt upset. Nervous, she slipped and fell off the horse. Startled by the beautiful girl, Situ Xiao fell from the horse, crying out in pain and instinctively clutching her leg. This also attracted the ninth princess's attention. She thought to herself that this person's attire didn't look like that of a killer. But the ninth princess didn't dwell on that. Instead, She turned back to ask Song Yu why he hadn't replied to her letters. Song Yu remained cold, ignoring Xiao Jiu's questioning. Instead, he turned to help up the pain-stricken Situ Xiu. Seeing Song Yu so intimate with this boy, the ninth princess became jealous and started questioning the little gardener beside her. Little gardener, it's quite chilly here, isn't it? Unexpectedly, the little gardener's gaze was also fixed on Situ Xiu, ignoring the princess. The princess angrily demanded to know who this soldier was. Situ Xiu, scared by the questioning of her identity, trembled and dared not say a word. Song Yu came to her rescue, explaining, in the chaos of the battlefield, if the ninth princess were to be careless, she could be captured by the enemy and used as leverage. This would be a burden to Xia country. Hearing Song Yu say ninth princess, Situ Xiu finally understood. Only a princess could be born so noble and beautiful. Hu Shi, standing nearby, couldn't bear to see the princess being bullied. He retorted, General Song, the ninth princess came here to boost morale. Don't forget your place. Although Song Yu was a national war god, his status still couldn't surpass that of the princess. He could only silently swallow this rebuke. Hu Shi felt it was cold outside and asked the ninth princess to go into the tent to warm up. But the ninth princess seemed unappreciative, only focused on talking to her Yu-Gij. Yu-Gij, don't worry. With your protection, how could I be captured? I came here just to see what the young general of Xia country looks like. Hearing this, Song Yu pushed Situ Xiu forward. If you want to see the young general of Xia country, he's right here. No one expected that this thin, small, and fair-skinned child would be the young general of Xia country. The ninth princess and Hu Shi's minds became even more confused. Situ Xiu, who was pushed forward, could only smile awkwardly. No one had expected the Xiao general to be such a thin and short person. Hu Shi questioned Song Yu about why he hadn't kept the enemy confined in a tent. Song Yu planned to explain inside the tent, as there were too many people outside. Exposing that Situ Xiu wasn't the real Xiao general would be problematic. They then entered the tent. Song Yu said that although the Xiao general was a prisoner of war, he should be treated with courtesy. Moreover, there was something suspicious about this matter, so he couldn't let Hu Shi take him back to Tiansha. These words angered Hu Shi. He was about to explode at Song Yu. Situ Xiu, standing nearby, also caught on to what was being discussed. It was about taking her back to the Xia country's capital. If Song Yu handed her over, her identity as a girl would be exposed. Then Situ Xiu would surely die and never see tomorrow's sun again. At this moment, the ninth princess didn't care about the Xiao general's fate. Instead, she naturally took Song Yu's hand and said, Yu-Gij, after this war, you must marry me. These words brought Situ Xiu's thoughts back to reality. What? The ninth princess and Song Yu were to be married? The ninth princess happily replied, of course. A war god should be paired with a princess. So Yu-Gij must marry this princess. Hearing the word marry, Situ Xiu clenched her fists. Her heart also sank. So General Song Yu was already engaged. An inexplicable feeling welled up in her heart, and tears began to flow uncontrollably from the corners of her eyes. The ninth princess couldn't believe it either. We're getting married. Why are you crying? Seeing Situ Xiu cry, Song Yu abruptly let go of the ninth princess's hand and warned her, Your Highness, stop fooling around. The ninth princess, upon seeing this, threw herself into Hu Shi's arms, complaining that Yu-Gij was too fierce. Hu Shi could only try to console little Nine, saying he didn't know what was good for him. Meanwhile, Song Yu continued to comfort Situ Xiu. He also felt that the matter discussed with Hu Shi was too serious and needed to send the young general away. He could only pretend to be stern in front of the princess, saying, If you want to cry, go find a place to hide and cry. Don't let me see you. Hearing this, Situ Xiu didn't argue. She ran out of the tent in tears, remembering the ninth princess's words as she ran. A war god should be paired with a princess. So Yu-Gij was always meant to marry this princess. These words deeply hurt Situ Xiu. She had never thought about the general getting married. But a war god should be paired with a princess. If Situ Xiu were a princess, could she marry Song Yu then? When this thought arose in her mind, Situ Xiu herself was shocked. She actually wanted to marry Song Yu. Without realizing it, she had fallen in love with this general. Otherwise, why would she be crying so heartbrokenly? Situ Xiu remembered the general once saying, "You need to be braver and stronger. The real you isn't bad at all. What is the real me?" Situ Xiu decided she should bravely tell Tsang Yu about these feelings. Outside the tent, the ninth princess was enthusiastically asking her uncle for a tent, wanting to be closer to Tsang Yu. She wanted to see the mighty war god every day. She also told the soldiers to move her luggage over. The young general walked by absent-mindedly, not noticing. It wasn't until the little gardener reminded the ninth princess that he thought this young general looked somewhat familiar. He kept his eyes on him, which caught the ninth princess's attention. This young general, being from an enemy country, could move around freely and was running so urgently. It was indeed a bit suspicious. The princess hid in the shadows, watching the young general's every move. She and the little gardener followed closely behind. Situ Xiu quickly arrived at the entrance of Tsang Yu's tent, peering in to look for him. She called out "General" softly. Seeing the general's stern face, Situ Xiu became too nervous to speak. She took a deep breath to calm herself down. But unexpectedly, when she got close, her old problem resurfaced. She began to stutter. General Tsang Yu was an impatient person. He couldn't stand seeing her stammer. He asked what was wrong. Hearing the general's voice, Situ Xiu lost control even more. Her stutter got worse. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. She could only occasionally utter a single word repeatedly. The general came up with a good idea. To say something, just say the first word first. Situ Xiu nervously said the word "I." Tsang Yu didn't impatiently ask her, "Then what?" Situ Xiu slowly stuttered out, "I like you." Tsang Yu's expression became serious. What on earth was this boy saying? He likes me? Just as Tsang Yu was about to say something, a voice interrupted. The ninth princess burst in. "You a man actually like my Yu-Gij? Luckily I followed you. Otherwise I wouldn't have overheard this absurd confession." Hearing the word confession, Situ Xiu finally realized. "I just confessed to the general. How could I do such a thing in the heat of the moment? It's really too indiscreet," she said, covering her face. The shyness and coquettishness of a woman were perfectly displayed. Seeing this coy behavior, the ninth princess became furious. She wanted to teach this presumptuous brat a lesson. Before Helian Jiao could finish speaking, Tsang Yu quickly kicked Situ Xiu away. Opening the tent flap, Tsang Yu was heard saying, "Situ Xiu, it's fine that you like embroidery and having children, but now you even like men? Do you think I would like that too?" After saying this, he told Situ Xiu to look up. Situ Xiu's shy moment hadn't passed yet. She raised her head and saw two mountains. Tsang Yu stated directly, "He likes women with chests as magnificent as two mountains. Not a man with a flat plane above and something extra below." Hearing Tsang Yu's shocking and bold statement, everyone was silent for a second. The ninth princess suddenly thought of something and immediately became alert. She casually took off her robe and proudly said, "Do you understand now? Yu-Gij likes women like me, the princess. It's a shame you're the Xia country's young general. You're just a big pervert." She then thrust out her chest. Even Situ Xiu marveled. How can this princess's chest be so big? She realized she was instantly defeated. Is a war god destined to only match with a princess? This sudden heartbreak and sense of defeat made her tears flow uncontrollably. The ninth princess could only sigh, wondering how this boy could cry so easily. While crying inexplicably and intensely, a hand grabbed Situ Xiu and pulled her out of the tent. Situ Xiu didn't see who it was, only focused on her own sorrow. As they walked out of the tent, Situ Xiu was still immersed in the pain of heartbreak, until someone called her sister. "Isn't this the little gardener who always hides his face with his hair?" Situ Xiu was stunned. This little gardener in front of her was actually her runaway brother, the real young general of Xia country, Situ Jian. Situ Jian brushed up his bangs, revealing his bright eyes. Only then did Situ Xiu recognize him. This was too incredible. It really was her twin brother. She asked him how he ended up here. The brother noticed that his sister wasn't stuttering anymore. What exactly had happened during this time? It's a long story. Since birth, Situ Jian had been appointed as the young general of Xia country. The old general never slacked in training his martial arts, being very strict with him. For the sweeping thousands of troops move, one had to forcefully swing the spearhead. Situ Jian's strength wasn't enough, so he had to do it again. However, Situ Jian didn't enjoy wielding weapons. He often broke them and once nearly cost the old general his life, let alone fighting on the battlefield. This behavior greatly displeased the old general. With such qualities, how could he serve the country loyally when he grew up? What kind of practice was this? He demanded Situ Jian practice for another half-year. Situ Jian had long been tired of this oppressive life. On the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival when he was 16, Situ Jian gathered with a group of young nobles at Xiaofang. These people were drunk and incoherent. Situ Jian realized he was there to be their bodyguard. He went to the riverside and asked a boatman for a sky lantern. In the hazy moonlight, Situ Jian wondered, am I destined to fulfill the mission of a young general? But I clearly want to forge my own path in life. He then released the sky lantern, asking the heavens to reveal his destiny. As the lantern rose, Situ Jian's gaze followed. Just as it reached the sky, it was about to collide with another lantern. Even in such a secluded riverside, there were other visitors. Look, our lanterns are eloping together. Situ turned towards the voice and saw a beautiful woman lifting her veil. She revealed a pair of purple eyes. In an instant, Situ Jian was captivated, blushing shyly. Just as he was about to speak, the woman and her attendants had already walked away. They say the wishing lanterns of Xia country are very effective. Is that true? In the days that followed, Situ Jian often thought about the purple-eyed girl he met by the river, unforgettable at first sight. He wondered who she was, where she came from, and regretted not rushing over to ask for her name. This longing lasted for 2 whole years, until one day, while chatting with other young masters about beauties in the world, they mentioned Su Rongrong, the first beauty of Xia country, as one. There was also the unparalleled, beautiful purple-eyed princess of Xia country, who counted as another. Purple eyes. Hearing these 2 words, Situ Jian became interested. He admitted that while practicing martial arts, he didn't know about these romantic matters. It was only today that he learned purple eyes were very rare. To think that the purple-eyed 9th princess was a unique existence in the world. However, since there was still tension between Xia country and Xia country, they couldn't discuss it further. Situ Jian finally knew the identity of the purple-eyed girl, and she happened to be the princess of an enemy country. So Situ Jian had to forget about her. But he found that the more he tried to forget, the more he thought about her. Finally, on that stormy evening, Situ Jian made a great decision. He found his sister and first complained about being the same height as her, which was really embarrassing. Then he said he wanted to run away from home. But these were all excuses. They were just Situ Jian's excuses to pursue true love. After leaving home, Situ Jian went to Xia country. To get close to the 9th princess, he became a gardener in the palace. His bangs were also to hide the color of his eyes. However, a month ago, Situ Jian heard people in the palace say they had captured the young general of Xia country. He was clearly in the palace, so how could he have been captured? It wasn't until Situ Jian followed the 9th princess and secretly came to this snowy plain that he learned it was his sister Situ Xiao who had gone to war in his place. As he spoke, guilt welled up in his heart. He kept apologizing to Situ Xiao. Hearing that her brother had also been through hardships, Situ Xiao burst into tears and forgave her brother's actions. The 2 embraced each other. The younger brother comforted his sister. Who would have thought that after so long, his sister was still such a crybaby? On the other side, Song Yu, standing outside the tent, recalled his recent behavior and felt it was a bit too much. Seeing that kid cry was quite pitiful. However, being a man who likes men, that's not right. Thinking it would be better to teach him a lesson, he turned to look for the young general. Through the door crack, he saw an unbelievable scene. Situ Xiao was tightly embracing the young gardener. This scene angered Song Yu. One moment saying he liked him, the next hugging someone else. What a fickle boy. This scene made Song Yu's eyes blaze with anger. His heart felt like it was being stabbed. Was it because he was deceived by this kid, or because he truly fell in love with this enemy country's general? Young general, who she had only been in the military camp for 2 days and already felt a headache coming on. He sent his subordinates to investigate the relationship between Song Yu and the young general. The report came back. Song Yu and the Xia country's young general were close and often left the camp privately, who she thought this war god had gone mad. At this moment, the 9th princess barged in. Dressed in white, she looked even more pure and beautiful. Uncle, is there an ice river near this military camp? The uncle ignored her and tried to persuade her kindly. You've already met General Song. Why don't I send an elite team to escort you back to Tiansha City first. The uncle felt that the relationship between the war god and the young general was unusual, so he wanted the ninth princess to leave first so he could investigate further. But the ninth princess didn't want to miss this good opportunity to be alone with Songyu. She wouldn't leave early, remembering that at this hour, Songyu would be drilling the soldiers. She wanted to go watch. She also warned her uncle not to interfere in their affairs anymore. Faced with the princess who had been spoiled since childhood, the uncle had no way to refuse and could only let her go. On the other side, Songyu was drilling the soldiers. Always strict with himself, Songyu was the same with the soldiers. Third row, second position, your technique is too rigid. Fifth row, all of you, your side is too exposed when you turn. It's easy for the enemy to attack. Situ Xiao was hiding in the back, watching Songyu drill the troops. At this moment, Songyu was shining in his eyes, looking incredibly powerful. Such a person could only be matched with a princess, right? No wonder Songyu rejected him. Thinking about this, Situ Xiao's tears of heartbreak welled up again. Unable to control his emotions anymore, his little mouth started quivering. At this moment, Songyu felt a burning gaze on his back. He turned around and, sure enough, this kid was crying again. He didn't know what he was thinking about. Discovered. Situ Xiao embarrassedly took up a silver tent cloth to cover his swollen face. Songyu ignored it and continued drilling the soldiers. The soldiers all felt that their leader had been particularly strict these past few days. They didn't know what had made Songyu so unhappy. Brother Yu, with a soft call, the ninth princess made her dazzling entrance. Regardless of the situation, she asked Songyu to take her to play at the ice river. Songyu, already in a bad mood, heard this and felt like oil was being poured on fire. If the ninth princess is here to relax on the battlefield, please return to Tiansha City soon. Hearing this, the ninth princess stopped in her tracks. In the entire country, no one dared to speak to a princess like this. Songyu being so cold, wasn't it making the ninth princess lose face? Situ Xiao in the tent also noticed this awkward princess. This time, he looked at her carefully. So, this is the Princess Zimo that his brother likes. With the mindset of helping his sister-in-law out of the awkward situation and matchmaking them, Situ Xiao said, "Princess, why don't you let the young gardener take you?" The words young gardener felt like 1,000 needles piercing Songyu's ears. He gritted his teeth in anger. Left with no choice, he softly uttered, "Let's go." The ninth princess and Situ Xiao were shocked. This was during military training, and Songyu had been so cold just now. How did he suddenly change his mind? This question remained unanswered even as they arrived at the snowy ice river. As soon as they arrived, everyone was captivated by the scene before them. The ice river looked like a silver-white ribbon slowly flowing down from the mountain. It sparkled in the sunlight like a long white dragon, freezing all life on the earth. Even the well-traveled ninth princess couldn't help but exclaim, "How beautiful!" She invited Brother Yu to dismount and take a walk. Glancing over, she saw that perverted young general again. Yet Songyu liked to keep him by his side. A man daring to cause trouble for a princess. Suddenly, a mischievous idea appeared in the ninth princess's mind. Her foot slipped. She took advantage of the momentum and pushed. She pushed the frail young general to the ground. He fell and couldn't get up. The ice surface was slippery. Situ Xiao tried to support himself with his hands, but cracks appeared on the ice. Situ Xiao was shocked. In an instant, Situ Xiao disappeared from sight. He fell into the ice hole, leaving only one hand out calling for help. The princess was also stunned. She didn't expect things to be so serious. She froze in place, terrified. A second later, she regained consciousness and shouted for help. He fell in. The young general of Xia country has fallen into the ice river. Hearing the news, Songyu quickly turned back. He frowned. This situation wasn't simple. Songyu didn't care about anything else. He threw off his robe. Without thinking, he jumped into the water. He grabbed Situ Xiao and wrapped him tightly in the robe. The ninth princess knew she had done something wrong. She kept following behind, explaining, "Brother Yu, is he okay? I didn't know the ice would break." Songyu couldn't stand her chatter and warned the ninth princess to stay away from Situ Xiao in the future. At this moment, Situ Xiao was frozen and delirious, mumbling about the ninth princess. She also tried to be attentive, taking off her fur coat to cover the young general. This only deepened Songyu's annoyance with the ninth princess. He shouted in response, Song Yu gently carried Situ Shio back to his silver tent. He wrapped him in several thick blankets and caringly asked if he was still cold. Song Yu reached out to undress Situ Shio. Of course, the wet clothes needed to be changed. As a woman, how could Situ Shio let Song Yu change her clothes? She quickly refused. Song Yu's eyes became more stern. How can you not change? You'll catch a cold. Seeing that she couldn't refuse, Situ Shio asked to call the young gardener over to help her change. The young gardener was Situ Shio's brother, but Song Yu didn't know that. The words, young gardener, pierced Song Yu's mind. It was that gardener who had hugged him the other day. He can change your clothes, but I can't. Saying this, he pinched Situ Shio's mouth and pulled him into his arms. This time, Song Yu was determined. Song Yu's anxious heart meant nothing now. He warned Situ Shio not to say things that upset him anymore. He held Situ Shio tightly in his arms and kissed him. Sha Country's war god Song Yu, at 22 years old today, for the first time doubted himself. At that moment, he couldn't control himself and kissed Situ Shio. They were both men. What was happening to him? If that kid was a woman, he would marry her right away. After that kiss, Situ Shio fainted. It was then that Song Yu realized. Had his heart already accepted Situ Shio? Had he also fallen in love? When did it start? It seemed to be that night in the snow cave. Song Yu felt he could no longer let go of Situ Shio. Before, Song Yu hated him so much, but he never thought this hatred would slowly turn into love. Since that's the case, boss, Little Hay beside Song Yu kept calling him. Song Yu finally snapped out of his deep thoughts. General Hushi is calling for you. Arriving at General Hushi's place, Hushi questioned why Song Yu wouldn't let him take the young general away. This matter was very suspicious. If it dragged on any longer, His Majesty might blame Hushi for incompetence. But Song Yu understood. How could they take Situ Shio away? This young general was a fake. On the other side, Situ Shio woke up. She found that the general seemed to be gone, but his clothes were still there. Remembering the scene before fainting, before losing consciousness, why did Song Yu suddenly bite her lips? She didn't expect his lips to be so soft. It really embarrassed Situ Shio. But didn't Song Yu reject her? Why did he become intimate again? Thinking of that scene, Situ Shio shyly burrowed into the blanket. She couldn't tell if it was real or a dream. After tossing and turning excitedly in bed, she found the princess's ball was still there. Situ Shio decided to return it. Upon entering, it was pitch black. Had the ninth princess gone to sleep? Strangely, there were no guards outside the door. At that moment, a loud noise came from inside. What was that sound? It came from the tent. Situ Shio could only muster up courage and walk in. She called out to the princess but got no response. Not a single lamp was lit in the dark room. When Situ Shio lit the lamp, she saw the princess captured by a man in black, her mouth covered, unable to make a sound. The man in black said, "Young general, I've been waiting for you." The princess made a hoarse cry for help. Just as Situ Shio was about to go out and call for help, the man in black grabbed her, covering her mouth. He claimed to be sent by Xia Country as support, but the ninth princess's cries still attracted the guards. They were discovered by the patrolling soldiers. It seemed they had to abandon the plan to kidnap the Xia Country princess. They decided to take the young general back to Xia Country first. And so, Situ Shio was reluctantly abducted by the man in black. The guards entered and only saw a trembling ninth princess, slumped on the bed, muttering that a man in black had run to the left. "Quick, chase him!" Everyone rushed out to pursue the assassin. Only the young gardener rushed in, hugging the princess and softly comforting her. The ninth princess saw it was the young gardener. Her frightened heart finally calmed down. She poured out her fears. It was so scary. Why did I have to experience such a terrifying thing? I want to go back to Tiansha City. I want to return to Mother's side. She spoke while crying. Seeing this scene, the young gardener immediately decided to go back. They shouldn't stay here anymore. The uncle rushed over upon hearing the commotion. He found all the servants were gone. The gardener said he didn't know what happened. The princess had been in low spirits since returning from the ice river and had dismissed everyone. When he arrived, the princess was already in this frightened state. It turned out that a man from Xia Country had tried to kidnap the princess. Unexpectedly, the young general arrived, and the man in black gave up on abducting the princess. In the end, they escaped together. Helian Jiao, in her shock, spoke unclearly. This led Hushi to mistakenly believe that Xia people had attacked the camp, planning to kidnap the princess, and that the captured young general was in cahoots with them. When the plan was exposed, they fled together. Hushi angrily confronted Song Yu. Didn't you say the young general was fake? How could he still secretly collude with the Xiao army? Could it be that you were deceived by him? Song Yu, recalling the past events, clenched his fist in hatred. Sidu Xiu, how dare you? He immediately called for his subordinates to bring his horse. His subordinate asked where Song Yu was going. A cold glint appeared in Song Yu's eyes, revealing a bloodthirsty light. I will personally capture the young general. Saying this, he mounted his horse and galloped off in pursuit. At this moment, the masked man had already put the young general on a horse. But Sidu Xiu still hadn't figured out the identity of this man in black. Who was he? Where exactly was he taking her? With a sigh of, "I'm sorry, young general," the man removed his mysterious veil. It was actually Li Yin. Wasn't Li Yin the general's subordinate? How could he possibly be from Xia country? Li Yin explained that he wasn't from Xia country. As for the reason, he could only say that they had a common enemy. If the young general hadn't interfered tonight, the Xiao army would have captured Helian Jiu, thus restraining Sha Jun. They originally came to capture the ninth princess. Why did they take the Xiao general instead? Hearing the young general's words, Li Yin suddenly pulled the reins, almost throwing Situ Xiu off the horse. He began questioning Situ Xiu. You're the young general of Xia country, yet you've made Xia country your home? No wonder when I let you escape during the ambush last time, you still managed to get caught again. So the easy escape last time without guards watching was Li Yan's setup. And now, it was this young general who didn't want to leave. Thinking of Xia country, Sidu Xiu seemed to have forgotten why she came. Now, all Sidu Xiu could think about was possibly only the enemy country's war god, Song Yu. Just as they mentioned the general, a loud shout came from behind. Stop, Li Yin thought to himself. As expected of Song Yu, he discovered the clue so quickly and pursued the right path. Discovering that the masked man was actually Li Yin, Song Yu's heart sank. The ninth princess's arrival at the battlefield was supposed to be secret. Moreover, the Xiao army was too quiet about kidnapping Situ Jian. Someone must have been interfering. It turned out that person was Li Yin, the commander who had been with Song Yu for 3 years. Seeing Song Yu in pursuit, Li Yin wanted the young general to escape on horseback. With a call of Situ Xiu, Song Yu stopped him. In Situ Xiu's eyes, there was a look of sadness and reluctance. Song Yu couldn't understand why Situ Xiu would be like this. Weren't they escaping together? Taking advantage of Song Yu's distraction, Li Yin swung his sword. Fortunately, the war god's rich experience allowed him to block the strike. Li Yin and Situ Xiu successfully escaped. But at this moment, Situ Xiu's heart wavered. She didn't want to hold the reins tightly, wanting to return to Song Yu's side. Seeing this, Li Yin warned the Xiao general not to loosen the reins, or they would both be captured. Unexpectedly, Situ Xiu's words shocked Li Yin. You're right, I don't want to leave at all. She then let go of the reins and fell into Song Yu's arms. Song Yu saw Situ Xiu's intention and stepped forward to catch her steadily. Although Situ Xiu cursed, calling him a big fool, and saying jumping off a horse in this situation could be fatal, her heart felt warm. At this moment, Situ Xiu only wanted to return to Song Yu's side. Originally, Song Yu had many doubts about Situ Xiu. After this incident, all his suspicions disappeared. The way this fool rushed towards him without hesitation was truly captivating. At this moment, Li Yin had already run 100 meters away. He was seen shouting Song Yu's name loudly. Then he pointed upwards with his hand, as if giving a hint. Song Yu looked up. Oh no! With Song Yu's keen perception, he realized that an avalanche was about to occur in this area. He immediately told Situ Xiu to hold tightly onto the protruding rock. Situ Xiu obeyed. The avalanche came immediately. A huge snow waterfall poured down, engulfing everything in an instant. Then the disaster settled into eternal darkness. Song Yu could never have imagined. Li Yin had already planted people at the mountaintop to create this accident. No matter how fast Song Yu's horse was, it would be hard to escape death. As for the young general, Song Yu had given him a chance to live, but he chose his own demise. If the Xiao army asked, they would say the young general was killed by Song Yu. After the avalanche, Situ Xiu struggled to her feet, searching for Song Yu. She called out his name, but but all around was silence. Only echoes were heard, and in the distance, the sound of crows. Coming to the black horse's side, she only found the general's helmet. The horse kept pawing at the snow with its front hooves. Situ Shio felt this was a hint. Song might be under the snow. Situ Shio, without hesitation, began digging with her bare hands. She dug and cried, praying to the heavens that the general would be all right. After digging for a while, Situ Shio found that the snow had hardened. If she didn't hurry, the general would suffocate. So she dug even more vigorously. Her hands were in terrible shape, covered in frostbite and small cuts. After an enormous effort, she finally saw the general's face again. When the avalanche occurred, Song had pushed Situ Shio onto a rock before getting trapped himself. Under the snow, he tried to climb up, but his strength gradually faded, and his consciousness began to drift away. In the darkness, he had a dream. It was their wedding scene. He thought it should be on the snowy plains, but now he was in a warm room, wearing red attire. Ignoring these details, he quickly searched. At this moment, Song Yu's body moved uncontrollably, walking straight ahead. A bride was sitting on the bed waiting for him. Who was this woman? The woman he saw was beautifully dressed in red, with radiant eyes. She softly called him General. How could this woman look exactly like Situ Shio? He spoke in surprise, but his voice was unfamiliarly gentle. Shio, Song Yu blurted out, but he was pulled back to reality by repeated calls of General. Situ Shio was very curious about how the general knew her nickname. Awakened by Situ Shio's voice in reality, he realized it was just a dream, a beautiful dream. He also discovered that Situ Shio's nickname was really Shio. Situ Shio reached out to support the weakened general. However, the general noticed something unusual. Situ Shio's hands were swollen and frostbitten, each finger thicker than a radish. Situ Shio explained that this happened because she was in a hurry to save him. She hoped they would recover later, saying she looked awful now. Song Yu never imagined someone would sacrifice so much to save him. Heartbroken, he held Situ Shio's hands and kissed them, telling her not to harm herself like this in the future. Seeing that Song Yu was all right, Situ Shio's pent-up emotions finally burst out. She had thought Song Yu might never wake up. She hugged Song Yu tightly, afraid he might disappear again. Don't cry, I'm awake now, aren't I? Let's go back. As Shioer was gently caressing Situ Shio's cheek, Song Yu suddenly noticed the earring holes on her ears. Could she be a woman? If she was a woman, Situ Shio and Song Yu could be together openly. Song Yu felt elated. His heart raced as he imagined the day he could marry Shioer. At noon, Situ Shio and Song Yu returned to the military camp, looking haggard. All the commanders opened the doors to welcome their leader, while also casting suspicious glances at the young general. At this time, a commander asked the leader, "Have you interrogated the young general yet?" Situ Shio was confused, not understanding the situation. Song Yu told Situ Shio to go back to the inner tent to rest, saying he would send someone with hot water to clean her wounds later. Then he went to the military tent and ordered his subordinates to invite Commander Hu Shi and the ninth princess over. He wanted to prove Shio's innocence. Ninth princess, please recount what happened last night. The ninth princess began. Last night I dismissed my servants and was about to sleep when a masked person broke in, trying to kidnap me. At that moment, the young general arrived. He returned my prison clothes. Seeing that I was captured, he quickly called for help. The masked person then claimed to be a spy sent by Xia country. Then the soldiers came. Later, the masked person released me and forcibly took the young general away. Hu Shi exclaimed, "Ninth princess, that's not what you said last night. You should know that the ninth princess was so shocked last night. At that time, she didn't know how to answer any questions. How could she have sorted out the logic?" A guard stepped forward and asked the general, if the young general was unaware last night, then who was the masked person? Song Yu looked very calm, without a hint of exposure. He calmly said that the masked person was Li Yin. The soldiers were shocked. What? It was him? Why would Li Yin deceive us? Song Yu spoke. I'm afraid he was never loyal. After all, Li Yin was encountered during the Man Country campaign. He might be a remnant of Bangkok. At this moment, the ninth princess prepared to say goodbye to Song Yu and return to the capital. Hu Shi from Sha City saw that Little Nine was finally willing to go back. He grabbed her hand and rushed out of the tent. Thank the gods! Uncle will arrange for someone to send you off immediately. Then the soldiers realized, boss, so this young general is really fake? A mysterious smile appeared on Song Yu's face. He's not just fake, he might also be a woman. The 11 single battle generals all widened their eyes, looking as if they'd seen a ghost. A woman? Impossible. How could a woman be on the battlefield? The young general does look effeminate, but she doesn't have breasts. Anyway, I don't believe it. Unless we peek while she's bathing. Good idea. Let's go peep together later. The idea of peeping shocked Song Yu and also made him jealous. 11 soldiers actually want to peep at Xiao bathing? Get rid of those dirty thoughts, or you'll have to do 1,000 backflips. But whether Xiao is male or female, peeking during bathing is indeed a good method. However, if Xiao is a woman, wouldn't that make Song Yu a peeping Tom? At this moment, the 9th princess stormed in, muttering, "Uncle, really? He took me away before I could finish talking to Brother Yu." Brother Yu, Song Yu spoke. Let her go. Half an hour later, she finally understood what Song Yu meant by let her go. She couldn't believe that Song Yu actually asked the 9th princess to peep on the young general bathing. He even suspected that the young general might actually be a woman. He told the 9th princess to remember to focus on the key points later. To think that a princess would be forced to do such a vulgar thing. But the Xia country's young general might really be a woman. The princess sneaked into Situ Xiao's room. The young general was indeed bathing. Hearing a sound behind, he turned to look. The 9th princess saw that the upper body didn't look like a woman's, so she glanced at the key point below. It was an animal the 9th princess had never seen before. The unmarried 9th princess ran out shyly. This was a scene she had never witnessed before. At this moment, Situ Xiao drowsily asked her brother who had come. The brother was also embarrassed. The person the 9th princess saw was actually the real young general who had just come to find his sister, Situ Jian. The 9th princess seemed to have mistaken Situ Jian for Situ Xiao. It was all because of Situ Jian's mischief. He insisted on messing with the general's black horse, not only getting covered in mud, but also sneaking over to steal his sister's hot water. Situ Xiao, with a drowsy head, was sleeping and scolded Situ Jian for his antics. Situ Xiao spoke each word clearly. The brother was really curious about who had cured his sister's stutter. The sister told her brother it was the general. The brother couldn't help but sigh. Having a war god brother-in-law is indeed not bad. What are you saying? Don't use that word, the brother teasingly said. Speaking of which, since the 9th princess encountered the attack, she had been constantly complaining about wanting to return to Tiansha City. Situ Jian wanted to go with her at once. Looking at her brother before her, Situ Xiao was reminded of last night. He was determined to return to the general's side. With similar experiences, the sister didn't want her brother to regret it, so she said, "Go then. I'll do my best to handle things here for you." The brother was surprised that Situ Xiao was willing to give up her own future to help him. Situ Xiao pretended not to know about Situ Jian not wanting to be a general. She continued as before, along with their mother and grandfather, hoping for her brother to become a hero protecting the country. For over 10 years, you've silently carried the hopes we placed on you. Now that you've opened your heart to me as your sister, Situ Xiao, as his twin sister, should support him. As she spoke, the siblings embraced. Their 18 years of sibling bond had never felt as close as this moment. On the other side, the 9th princess arrived at the tent with a gloomy face. Everyone eagerly gathered around when they saw the 9th princess, wanting to know if General Xiao was male or female, even betting on it. The 9th princess immediately accused Brother Yu of lying, saying, "What do you mean General Xiao is a girl? He's clearly a man." The 11 commanders also claimed they had guessed correctly. How could someone so flat-chested be a woman? Song Yu hesitated and asked the 9th princess if she had seen clearly. The 9th princess, both embarrassed and angry, shouted, "I saw clearly. The Xia country's young general is a man." "I hate Brother Yu," Song Yu thought. Could I have been mistaken? The soldiers also discussed among themselves. The boss seemed quite hopeful before, but now there's no chance. Song Yu had also made up his mind. He didn't care about others' opinions. Whether Xiao was male or female, he had already confirmed his feelings. Inside the tent, Song Yu visited the weakened Situ Xiao. Situ Xiao said he had something to tell Song Yu. He stumbled and fell off the bed. "What's wrong?" Song Yu asked caringly. Holding Situ Xiao's shoulders, he suddenly realized how hot they were. The great general had never been so anxious before. He rushed out. He called for Nusen to come and examine Situ Xiao. Nusen noticed something different about the young general's appearance. He began to suspect she was a girl, but didn't say anything. He only told Song Yu, "The young general caught a chill that day at the icy river. The illness is only manifesting now." At this moment, Situ Shio called out from under the covers. I'm so cold. Song Yu anxiously asked Nusin to prescribe medicine. Unexpectedly, no expensive prescription was needed. Just a bowl of ginger soup would suffice. Outside, Xiaozhu saw Nusin hurrying out and asked what was wrong. Nusin replied that the young general had just caught a cold. Isn't a cold something you just power through with willpower? This young general is really weak. Nusin didn't say much more and brought the ginger soup inside. He advised that if the fever continued, they could use a cool towel on the forehead to bring down the temperature. Seeing how delicately Situ Shio drank the ginger soup, Song Yu offered to feed him personally. Before Situ Shio could respond, Song Yu grabbed the medicine bowl. He took the ginger soup in his mouth. Why did Song Yu drink the medicine when it was Xiao General who had a cold? Song Yu held the medicine in his mouth without swallowing. Complaining that Situ Shio drank too slowly, he decided to feed him personally. Situ Shio was also shocked by this method. It was supposed to be ginger soup, but why did it taste sweet in his mouth? The two perceptive commanders also hid behind the curtain, pretending not to see anything. Everyone felt that in the boss's heart and eyes, there was only the young general. Nusin reminded Xiao what to leave quickly, or the boss might get angry again. After drinking the ginger soup, Situ Shio broke into a sweat. Taking advantage of Song Yu's absence, he wiped himself down. Then she fell into a drowsy sleep. Until midnight, she felt a coolness on her forehead. It seemed the fever had broken. Turning to the side, she saw the general had been taking care of her. He kept changing the cool towel on Situ Shio's forehead. Since they returned, the general hadn't rested. Now for Situ Shio, he had stayed up until this hour. Seeing Situ Shio wake up, he hurriedly came forward to ask if she was feeling better. Situ Shio was also curious about Song Yu. She stared at his face intently. Such a handsome figure. Even his chin had light blue stubble growing. The general got up again to pour water. Unable to bear seeing Song Yu so tired, Situ Shio told him to go rest quickly. Song Yu replied, I had something I wanted to tell you earlier, but you fell ill. I planned to tell you when you woke up. Situ Shio didn't know what the general wanted to say. A few days ago, Song Yu had rejected Situ Shio's feelings. But after that, Song Yu had been constantly troubled. It wasn't until Song Yu kissed Situ Shio that he understood his true feelings for her. The night Situ Shio ran away was the first time Song Yu felt afraid. Afraid that it was all a deception. But Song Yu wasn't the type to play games. He caressed Situ Shio's cheek and confessed deeply, Shioer, I like you too. Startled by the sudden confession, she froze for half a second. Situ Shio was stunned. General, I think I'm hearing things. I must still have a fever. This response left Song Yu speechless. He directly took away the water cup and loudly declared, Listen carefully, you. I said I like you. This time it was real. Situ Shio heard clearly. The general really liked him. Situ Shio was overjoyed, feeling as if the whole world had brightened. She threw herself into the general's arms. Song Yu finally smiled contentedly. Just as they were getting intimate, Song Yu said something disappointing. How? Song Yu still thought Situ Shio was a man. It was truly a big misunderstanding. A man had confessed to another man. Situ Shio hurriedly explained, I've said many times, I'm a woman. Song Yu, being dense, still didn't believe it, thinking it was his imagination. But Song Yu absurdly indulged Situ Shio's fantasy. I understand. If you want to be a woman, I'll treat you as my wife and cherish you. The general seemed to have gone in a strange direction. Song Yu didn't care. He started to take off the necklace on his chest. Men of Sha country all wear necklaces. Then they bestow it upon their lifelong beloved. Situ Shio had seen this necklace before when treating the general's calluses. To spend a lifetime with Song Yu? Situ Shio thought of her mother and grandmother's expectations. Knowing Song Yu was an enemy general, could Situ Shio accept this heavy love? Situ Shio couldn't accept it. Although I'm not the real young general, I'm still from Xia country. I want to spend my life with you, but I don't know what to do. Seeing Situ Shio's concerns, Song Yu made a major decision. He would resign from his position as general and return to Xia country with Situ Shio. In Xia country, everyone respectfully called Song Yu the prime minister's eldest son. In fact, he wasn't. His adoptive father never hid this from Song Yu, but they rarely communicated. Song Yu joined the army at 14 and had been fighting for Xia country for 8 years. The glory and wealth of the war god were all given to his adoptive father to repay his kindness in raising him. Situ Shio was moved to tears. The general was willing to humble himself in Xia country for her. You're sacrificing so much for me. Song Yu took out the necklace, wanting to give it to Situ Shio. Will you accept it now? Situ Shio decided to ask for it from him when they were finally together. Song Yu had to compromise. He tucked Situ Shio in and let him sleep a bit longer. Situ Shio suggested that Song Yu should also rest early. He looked very tired. Song Yu softly agreed. He turned around, took off all his clothes, and lay down next to Situ Shio, embracing him. Was the general going to sleep while holding him? Didn't the general say before that he liked women with 2 mountains on their chest? Now thinking about it, the plains are still better. Look at those 2 snow mountains, they collapsed yesterday. The general's breath was right by the ear, ticklish. His strong arms occasionally touched the cheek, fingers gently playing with Situ Shio's hair. Situ Shio wished they could be together like this forever. If only there was no war. Unless the ruler had no ambition and no intention of conquest. But this was something neither Song Yu nor Situ Shio could control. Sleep. That night, Situ Shio's heart was full of sweetness. Suddenly, she wondered why she had never been married before. It turns out heaven had reserved her true love for this moment. But the current situation of her love was a bit awkward. Facing the unintentional temptation of her beloved, with soft, white, delicate skin barely covered, no normal man could sleep, right? Shio, you little heartless one. Hellion Jiao was to return to Tiansha City today. She had come to the snow plain battlefield with the intention of pursuing Song Yu. But after spending just a few short days with her idol Jade brother, she suddenly lost her feelings of admiration. Song Yu was nothing like what the 9th princess had imagined. Come to think of it, they had only met a year ago. The 9th princess didn't really know her at all, so she decided to say a proper goodbye. But the 9th princess didn't expect that there was an even more explosive situation waiting for her. Entering the bedroom, intending to say goodbye to Song Yu properly, she found Song Yu and Situ Shio sleeping together, without clothes. Song Yu asked the princess if she needed anything, without any attempt to hide. At this moment, the princess was extremely embarrassed. Red-faced, she said she was here to say goodbye to Jade brother. I will soon return to Tiansha City. I won't trouble you anymore. Goodbye. She said this at lightning speed and quickly fled the awkward scene. Only after leaving did she understand. Her idol Jade brother liked men. No wonder he was so intimate with General Xiao. Before she could recover from the shock, she bumped into her uncle. Uncle had prepared a guard team for Little Nine, waiting outside the camp. Who she, with a royal decree, couldn't see the 9th princess off. Seeing her uncle's urgent expression, she wondered what he wanted to do with Song Yu. Soon after, Hushi led a team of soldiers to Song Yu's quarters. He pulled open the tent door and barged in with his men. When will you hand over Xia country's General Xiao to me to take back to Tiansha City? But General Xiao is fake. What use is there in taking him back? Even if he's fake, he's still connected to the Xiao army. He should be taken back for His Majesty to deal with. At this moment, a subordinate reported, "Boss, the North Yugu Pass has deployed troops." The sudden troop deployment made Song Yu sense something was amiss. It must be that Li Yin. He must be behind this. Situ Shio also came upon hearing the news of troop deployment. Seeing General Jia Xiao's figure, the uncle immediately signaled his men to seize him. Seeing her beloved captured angered Situ Shio. Who's she? What do you mean by this? General Tsang, you simply don't want to hand him over to me. I am a royal nobleman. I don't need your permission to take away an enemy. Taking away Situ Shio panicked her. Once gone, there would be no turning back. Song Yu also understood this logic. Taking Situ Shio away would surely lead to death. But a nearby officer reminded Song Yu that wartime was urgent. So Song Yu ordered them to go out and prepare the troops first. After sending all the guards out, Song Yu was blunt with Hushi. If you take Situ Shio away, I will make sure you regret it deeply. General Tsang really has a big temper. Hushi thought about making a deal. He could refrain from taking the young general back to Tiansha City. But there was one condition to be met. Take North Yu Pass within 10 days. All the military achievements would belong to Hushi. Is this starting a war with Xia country? Damn, Hushi. If he doesn't agree, Xior will have no chance of survival. But if he agrees, this relationship will surely develop an irreparable rift. A general's life and death belong to the country. For Situ Shio's life, Song Yu gritted his teeth and agreed. Very good. Hushi was very satisfied. With the imminent war between our army and the Xiao army, to avoid risks, the young general will be under Hushi's custody. And so Situ Shio was taken away. Before leaving, Song Yu whispered in his ear, No matter the outcome, my promise still stands. Sidu Xiu didn't expect that at this crucial moment with the pressing war situation, Song Yu would still care so much about him. Unable to let the general face difficulties alone, Sidu Xiu decided to come up with a strategy. The princess heard everything from her hiding place, trembling with fear. She never imagined that her kind and gentle uncle could be such a person. She also witnessed her uncle taking away the young general. The ninth princess's heart turned cold. At dusk, the princess began returning to Xia country with a large entourage. Along the way, the ninth princess kept recalling what she had secretly seen earlier. The little gardener noticed the princess was distracted. He caringly asked what was wrong. The princess had looked unwell since the journey began. Was there something on her mind? Helianjiu felt that her uncle had suddenly become very frightening. This morning, eager to find Song Yu, the ninth princess curiously hid outside the tent. She actually demanded Song Yu to take North Yu Pass within 10 days, with all the military achievements belonging to him. Hearing all this, the little gardener was shocked. The ninth princess carefully reminded him not to speak so loudly. Then Song Yu agreed to Hushi's demands. The little gardener understood. That meant war was coming. Sister likes General Tsang, so what about his stance? The little gardener's ears echoed with those words again. Sister will do her best for you in the future. The little gardener had left, unknowingly putting his sister in a difficult situation. The brother now hated himself. His actions were so terrible. Because of his running away from home, Sidu Xiu had to take his place in the expedition. Now, with war imminent between the two armies, should the entire Xia country bear the consequences of Situ Jian's escape? He had no choice but to abandon the princess, give up on love, and prepare to confess to her. I'm sorry, my name isn't Little Gardener. Situ Jian lifted his hair. The ninth princess felt he resembled someone. Why did he look so much like the young general in the military camp? The little gardener confessed, my name is Situ Jian. I am the young general of Xia country. This greatly shocked the ninth princess. He was actually the enemy country's young general. After saying this, Situ Jian jumped out of the carriage and left. Meanwhile, Situ Xiu was locked in a prison cell. It was getting dark. She wondered where the general had marched to by now. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. It was actually her twin brother. Seeing his sister imprisoned, the brother wanted to rescue her immediately. The sister was puzzled. Wasn't Situ Jian supposed to be with the ninth princess? Why did he appear here now? When Situ Jian learned about the imminent war, he immediately returned, intending to rescue his sister. He planned to go back to North Yu Pass to handle everything next. As for the ninth princess, he had already said goodbye to her. The younger brother has finally grown up and learned to take responsibility. But Sidu Xiu had a strategy. She decided that the two armies must not engage in battle. Sidu Xiu had thought about this all night. How to avoid war. The general once said, unless the ruler has no ambition and doesn't want to wage war. But it's the soldiers who fight in battles. If they don't want to fight anymore, there will be no one to meet the enemy at North Yu Pass. This will lure the army into a trap. Lure the army into an empty trap. Sidu Jian understood. His sister meant to evacuate the soldiers, lure the enemy into the city, then close the city gates, cutting off tens of thousands of troops. Sidu Jian could then capture them. Sidu Jian could also use this to impeach his brother-in-law. This would reduce casualties and achieve a temporary victory. It seems that although his sister appears delicate, she harbors clever strategies in her mind. Everything is fine, sir. The sound of breathing came from outside. He had returned. Sidu Jian had to leave the prison cell and rush back to Xia country. Before leaving, Situ Xiu instructed her brother to go to the general's tent, change into military uniform, and return to deploy at North Yu Pass. She said she wasn't important and her brother should leave quickly. Situ Xiu was so determined, probably not wanting to burden Situ Jian. As he left, Situ Jian gave his sister the dagger their grandfather had left him. With it, take care, the two parted ways. At this moment, Hushi came to check if Situ Xiu had escaped. Fortunately, this kid hadn't caused any trouble. Song Yu was treating him like a treasure. He didn't think that the enemy should be locked up. Thinking of the general, Xiu unconsciously felt sad and missed him. More than that, she was worried. Would the general follow her strategy and fall into the trap? As a soldier, Lin Fei deeply understood the responsibility and hardship of shedding blood and laying down one's life to protect the country. He guarded the border day and night, resisting the threat of foreign enemies, devoting himself to the country. However, when Xia country received false news about the young general's death, Lin Fei felt endless shock and self-blame. He recalled that at the time of parting, the old general had entrusted the entire army to him and instructed him not to let General Xiao go into battle unless absolutely necessary, and to protect this young general at all costs. However, now Lin Fei realized that he had failed to keep the old general's instructions and missed the chance to protect the young general. His heart was filled with guilt and regret. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. Just as he was feeling sad and helpless, a figure suddenly appeared before him. A young man in silver armor, riding a fine horse, appeared in front of him. Just like a youth with a golden knife, iron horse, and silver armor flying frost, so similar to the late young general. Lin Fei couldn't help but think he was hallucinating. He thought the person before him was the spirit of the young general, coming to tell him that the young general had found peace in another world. But he never expected that this person was actually the real young general, Situ Jian. Situ Jian rode his horse at full speed, finally arriving in front of the army like a sword. The soldiers were shocked. Following General Xiao's orders, they quickly retreated to North Yu Pass to prepare for redeployment and new strategies. General Xiao stood before everyone. It all seemed like an unbelievable dream. Hard to believe. Seeing General Xiao safe and sound, Lin Fei was overjoyed, with tears in his eyes. He felt that heaven had eyes, and his heart was filled with happiness. Because General Xiao was still alive, they still had a chance to fight together. Lin Fei quickly told General Xiao about the scouts' false report earlier, saying they had almost made the decision to commit suicide by sword. However, General Xiao didn't pay much attention to this. He simply ordered the soldiers to retreat to the city, then displayed unprecedented authority and charisma. General Xiao announced loudly, "Army, listen to my orders. We're retreating to North Yu Pass." The soldiers quickly carried out the order, not daring to be the least bit negligent. Lin Fei noticed that General Xiao was completely different from before. He was no longer weak, and his voice had become more rough and powerful. This made Lin Fei feel incredibly reassured and gratified, because General Xiao had grown and was capable of facing the current situation. Meanwhile, Song Yu of Xia country also received intelligence that Xia country had suddenly retreated to North Yu Pass. He found it incredibly strange. Song Yu understood that Xia country must have some trick up their sleeve, but he didn't know the specific strategy. Although he knew that Xiao'er was still in Hushi's hands, and if he couldn't complete the task within 10 days, his life would be threatened, Song Yu still decided to continue advancing. Directly attack North Feather Pass. He had doubts about Xia country's intentions, but he didn't want anything to hinder him from completing his mission. On the other side, Li Yin received a secret letter. The news that the young general was still alive was something he already knew, but the secret letter didn't mention this point. This made Li Yin start to doubt this person's true intentions. A man in black under Li Yin also expressed his distrust. The mysterious person's identity was not truly helping the rich country. It turned out that Li Yin's mother country was Man country. However, Man country was trampled by iron cavalry under Song Yu's rule. Li Yin had long hidden his identity under Song Yu's command. He had countless opportunities to put Song Yu to death, but wasted a lot of effort. Just then, Zhao Zhi's shout from outside interrupted his thoughts. He told Li Yin that General Xiao had returned and asked him to go over. Li Yin recalled that Zhao Zhi was easily deceived, while Lin Fei was not easily fooled. Now that General Xiao was back, the situation seemed to have become complicated. The man in black wanted to hide, but Li Yin said it was fine. He told him to observe from the shadows and respond accordingly. Zhao Zhi hurriedly pushed open the door, telling General Xiao that he had brought back the savior. At this moment, General Xiao didn't recognize Li Yin and could only inquire about his identity. Yin replied that his name was Li Yin and mentioned that a year ago, he was under Zhao Zhi's command, working as a spy in Xia country. At this time, Li Yin felt very strange, because he had done many bad things in Xia country, yet he wasn't exposed by General Xiao. Li Yin began to secretly remind him We've had interactions before. Situ Jian was also stunned to hear this. Because Li Yin had interacted with his sister before, he quickly decided to let Li Yin leave to avoid exposing himself again. Li Yin also realized that this wasn't Situ Jian from Xia country. He just looked exactly the same. So, could there be another young general? And what had happened in Xia country? Time was pressing. General Xiao discussed plans with Lin Fei and Zhao Zhe. To avoid any casualties, he decided to disperse the soldiers outside the pass, wait for the enemy army to arrive, then close the city gates and capture the commanders. Li Yin understood General Xiao's plan and began to draw a map of North Feather Pass, marking the points where gunpowder needed to be buried. General Xiao's strategy could ensure his own troops wouldn't be harmed, but at the same time, it couldn't cause major losses to the enemy army, thus achieving a win-win goal. But Li Yin knew General Xiao's plan. This time, he would surely make Song Yu have no way back. He began to draw the map of North Feather Pass. Li Yin drew 2 maps. He gave one to the man in black, telling him to complete this task. Then Li Yin hurriedly left. He went to find the person who promised to help restore the country. In the cage of Wuxi from the royal family of Xia country, Situ Xiu sat in a dark corner. Her face was full of anxiety and worry. The iron bars of the cage tightly confined her. Her complexion was pale and thin. The skin on her face had lost its vitality, taking on a hint of a ghastly white color. Her eyes were sunken in their sockets, having lost their former luster. Instead, they were filled with haggardness and fatigue. Her lips were cracked, as if she had lost her voice in despair. She murmured softly, "Is there still time for all this?" Her brother had been gone for 2 days. The general had also said that the cages of all countries were made of bronze, but iron's hardness was higher, so it should be able to cut through this bronze lock. Suddenly, the girl's eyes sparkled with hope, shining like stars. Those clear, transparent eyes revealed a firm and eager emotion. It was the general's words that had awakened her. She took out the knife her brother had left her and effortlessly cut through the iron chain. The general did not deceive me. At this critical moment, Situ Xiu heard someone outside, saying that the young general of Xia country had returned to North Feather Pass the day before yesterday. It sounded like Li Yan's voice. Li Yan had come to inform Wuxi. Wuxi was unfortunate. General Xiao was clearly imprisoned in the cage by him, unless the one who returned was real and the one in the cage was fake. Through the gap, Situ Xiu clearly saw Li Yan's face. It was indeed this traitor. But why was he here? Li Yan also said that the young general had come up with a strategy that could let the 2 armies fight without any casualties. Wuxi was enraged after hearing this. Then why are you still here? Don't forget our deal. I want you to kill Song Yu. These words were naturally overheard by Situ Xiu. Wuxi wanted to kill the general. But killing Song Yu was Li Yan's goal from the beginning. He took out a map. He said he had buried a large amount of gunpowder in North Feather Pass. Song Yu would surely die, and Wuxi must have also tampered with Song Yu's army. As it turned out, Li Yin wasn't wrong. Wuxi had planted people in the participating army. So what was Li Yan's purpose for coming this time? Over these 3 years, he had asked Wuxi for many things. Wealth, soldiers, and so on. Speaking of soldiers, Li Yin was very angry. Angry that the soldiers who she gave him were all useless. They even carried their own country's bows and arrows for assassinations. The last assassination attempt almost failed. What Li Yin really wanted this time was the country. Hearing such ambitious words, Wuxi was shocked. After a moment, he replied, "When I hear the news of Song Yu's death, that will be when I help you restore your country." Li Yin hoped Lord Wuxi would keep this promise. He also wanted to confirm that the imprisoned young general was still there. Wuxi pointed with his finger, saying he was inside. Situ Xiu realized things were going badly and didn't know what to do. But just as Li Yin turned around, Wuxi swung his sword down, finishing off Li Yin. Suddenly, blood gushed out, spilling onto the ground, forming a red stain. It seemed like a cruel interpretation of life, carrying an undeniable sense of desolation and danger. Time seemed to stand still. Everything appeared so pale, sorrowful, and helpless. This scene weighed heavily on Situ Xiu's heart, evoking indescribable fear and reflection. When Li Yin learned that Wuxi had broken his word, he felt disappointed and desperate. As for Wuxi, how could he possibly cooperate with the remnants of Man country? He was royalty from Xia country. Moreover, Li Yin had kidnapped the ninth princess without Hu Shi's knowledge. Their deal had long been broken. Li Yin knew early on that Hu Shi wasn't trustworthy, but he didn't expect him to act so quickly. Conspiring with a tiger, how could one have the strength? Li Yin was truly unwilling. Li Yin thought of his mother country. He had sworn to avenge it and restore its former glory. Yet he couldn't escape the fate of dying at the hands of Xia country people. He died with hatred. After Li Yan's death, Hu Shi remembered something more important. Their conversation had been overheard by the young general. Since Song, you wouldn't be coming back anyway. Why not get rid of this fake young general too? Saying this, he charged into the cell with his knife. Outside North Territory Pass, in a world of ice and snow, a large cavalry force halted their advance. They formed an impressive military array. Everyone looked confused at this sudden stop, not understanding why they had stopped in this desolate place. What were they doing? Song Yu also didn't know what was wrong. A bad feeling welled up inside him. He sensed that something might have happened to Showa at home. Showa was his most important family member. Their spiritual bond was inseparable. This premonition made him increasingly anxious and nervous. The knife thrust directly into the cage. The scene inside was heart-wrenching. The cage was empty, with only cut chains lying silently on the ground, as if telling a story of escape. A cold wind blew, sweeping across everyone's hearts, bringing a chill and unease. However, what was even more surprising was that behind the cage, there was a large opening connecting the inside and outside, leaving people puzzled. He's escaped, Hu Shi shouted loudly. His voice stirred up a sense of urgency. Under his orders, people immediately rushed to guard the camp gates, not giving Situ Xiao a chance to escape. Hu Shi's shout seemed to shake the entire scene like thunder, igniting everyone's fighting spirit and determination. This was a life-or-death chase. Everyone gave their all, vowing to capture the escaping Situ Xiao at any cost. Hu Shi led the pursuit team out to search for Situ Xiao's figure. Everyone initially believed he had successfully escaped the confines of the cage. Hu Shi listened intently to the surrounding sounds, his eyes scanning every corner, hoping to find clues of the escape in this chaos. However, he couldn't find any trace of Situ Xiao and secretly thought he might have already escaped. But at that moment, Situ Xiao was hiding behind a cabinet, biting his lip tightly, trying to suppress the sound of his heartbeat. He knew he had to wait for the right moment to escape this dangerous cage again. Hu Shi's gaze swept across the tent, seeming somewhat confused as he tilted his head, searching for Situ Xiao without realizing his presence. Meanwhile, Situ Xiao remained tightly hidden in his concealed spot, constantly aware of the movements outside. He took a deep breath and made up his mind. Once he got the chance, he would take advantage of this chaos to escape again, seeking the shore of freedom. The tense nerves kept Situ Xiao fully focused, waiting for the right moment to come. He was fully prepared to make another escape. At this moment, Situ Xiao suddenly recalled something. He furrowed his brows, a glimmer of worry flashing in his eyes. He clearly remembered that Li Yin had mentioned a map earlier amidst his painful groans. With her heart racing, she unhesitatingly stepped forward, pulling open the heavy curtain. The scene before her was almost unbelievable. Li Yin lay on the ground, his face pale, clutching a piece of white paper tightly. His fingertips had turned white from the effort. That paper seemed to be the last thing in his life, perhaps the map he had mentioned. Situ Xiao's gaze was fixed on the white paper in Li Yan's hand. He could feel an indescribable sense of urgency, as if the weight of fate was pressing on his heart. He knew this paper might hide important clues, or perhaps the key to the entire situation. He was eager to grasp every detail, pondering his next move. Time seemed to stand still. Situ Xiao fully felt the weak, dim light reflecting on his anxious face. He realized he must quickly inform the general and his brother of this important discovery. The safety of both armies and the direction of the entire situation might depend on his actions. He dared not risk letting two powerful forces fall into the same trap. The firm resolve in his heart drove Situ Xiao forward. He took determined steps, feeling as if an inextinguishable flame was burning within him. His mission was so important that he wouldn't be consumed by confusion and fear. He knew that only when the general and his brother received this crucial information could they take the right actions to avoid the fate of both armies falling into the trap. This was the responsibility he had to bear. He would do his utmost to uphold the honor of his family and mission. Situ Xiu finally managed to escape from the cage. His heart was still pounding violently, his body permeated with the terror and tension he had just experienced. The sight before him was filled with Hushi's black-robed soldiers, causing endless anxiety and helplessness to well up in his heart. He desperately thought about how to safely leave this place, but couldn't find a clear strategy. Just then, Situ Xiu's gaze fell on a woman's dress. He decisively decided to put it on. He rubbed his hands together, transforming into a stunningly beautiful woman with a cold aura. He knew that in this critical moment, assuming a woman's identity might give him some unexpected advantages. He began to stride more confidently, fearlessly facing the challenges ahead. By chance, Situ Xiu's gaze swept across the stable, and he saw a familiar steed. This steed had once been his reliable partner, sharing a tacit connection with him. A plan surged in Situ Xiu's mind. He decided to use this steed to realize his escape plan. He quickly approached the horse, gently stroking its mane as if telling it his plan. The horse's eyes seemed to reveal a hint of understanding and tacit agreement. Situ Xiu decided to entrust himself to this loyal companion as soon as possible. For the sake of his freedom and the completion of his mission, he was determined to successfully mount this steed and leave this dangerous place. Time was pressing, and Situ Xiu seized every opportunity. He steadied his emotions, preparing to leap onto the horse's back. It was as if he was about to break free from his shackles. He knew that once he successfully mounted the horse, he could gallop towards freedom in a swift ride, escaping the pursuit of Hushi's black-robed soldiers. The hope in Situ Xiu's heart grew stronger with his thoughts. He believed he could resolve this crisis. On the other side, the unknowing soldiers were confused about why Hushi had closed the camp gates. As they were discussing this, suddenly, a woman dressed in white flashed past their vision like a swift wind. Everyone was stunned by her appearance, as if they had seen a fairy descending from heaven. The beauty of this woman was truly unbelievable. Her appearance was as delicate as an elf, radiating a magical and enchanting glow. Her long hair flowed like a waterfall. Her white clothes fluttered lightly in the wind. Her eyes were as clear as water, sparkling with bright starlight, as if they could captivate souls. Everyone who saw her stared in awe, as if time had stopped for a moment. The soldiers, filled with reverence and amazement, all believed she must be a fairy descended from heaven. Her beauty and grace seemed to come from a dreamy fairy tale, transcending the boundaries of reality. This unexpected appearance left the soldiers completely at a loss. They forgot their duties and were simply mesmerized by this intoxicatingly beautiful and mysterious sight. However, the beautiful woman quickly disappeared from their amazed gaze. Situ Xiu hurriedly arrived at the city gate, but was still stopped by the guards. Approaching the city gate, he saw that the camp gate was indeed tightly closed. Anxious, he knew that if caught, not only would he be unable to deliver important information to the general, but he might also lose his life. To protect the general's interests and his own survival, he decided to employ a deceptive trick. He claimed to be the princess's maid. He fabricated a clever story, saying the princess had forgotten an important item when she went out and personally ordered him to retrieve it. This lie was his last hope for survival. He hoped this deception would blind the soldiers' eyes and make them believe his identity. Situ Xiu put on an anxious and impatient appearance. With a choked voice, he explained the urgency and importance of his coming here. He also said that if he wasn't allowed to pass, the princess would get angry. Taking a deep breath, he looked at the soldier, hoping he would believe his lie. The soldier frowned, his gaze revealing hesitation and doubt. But finally, under his anxious gaze, the soldier relaxed his blocking gesture and let him pass. Situ Xiu breathed a sigh of relief, secretly rejoicing. He deeply appreciated his own wit and intelligence, because this had saved his life and given him the opportunity to continue fulfilling his mission to deliver important news to the general. So he quickly stepped through the city gate, determined to continue forward. It took Hushi in the room a while to react. He frowned slightly in confusion, pondering more deeply about the strangeness of this matter. Even the map in Li Yan's hand had vanished, which further strengthened his suspicions. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly heard a subordinate hurriedly come in to report. All the military tents had been thoroughly searched, but they were unable to find the missing person. This news made Hushi's doubts even heavier. He couldn't understand how that guy had vanished into thin air. Feeling uneasy, Hushi turned to his subordinate and asked seriously, "Did you check each soldier remaining in the camp one by one? Didn't you find anyone suspicious?" The subordinate respectfully replied that they had checked carefully, but found no clues related to General Xiao. Hushi frowned, sinking into deeper doubt. Suddenly, a possible clue flashed in his mind. He remembered that the camp gate was the necessary route for escape. He quickly asked his subordinate if anyone had seen any suspicious movements. The subordinate replied with a hint of heaviness that an hour ago, the 9th Princess's maid had ridden out of the camp on horseback. Hushi's eyes focused, his guess becoming more certain in his heart. He let out a low growl, anger appearing on his face. He angrily slapped the subordinate's face, berating him for letting her escape disguised as a woman. At this moment, Hushi's heart was full of disappointment and resignation. He knew it was too late to send people to chase. Miss Situ had already gone far away in this short time, becoming a figure speeding like wind and lightning. Her silhouette grew more and more distant, finally disappearing in the dust in the distance, with no sign of turning back. Flowers fell fluttering, covering the traces of hoof prints and also blocking the pursuer's steps. In the vast white snow sea, Miss Situ quickly disappeared on horseback, bidding a final farewell to the pursuers behind. The purity and coldness of the snowflakes seemed to open an invisible path for her, allowing her to gallop freely in the icy snow world, no longer subject to any interference. Participating in commanding the battle, attacking North U Pass, he set up red, blue, purple, and yellow military flags, representing different orders for the soldiers to obey. The deployment was complete, ready to launch the offensive. The scout at the front reported that the city gate was open, with no one responding to the battle. This situation made Song Yu uneasy, thinking it might be an enemy trap. Song Yu would set out on the journey along with 3 brave generals. Xiao's was stood there stunned, almost unable to believe what he saw. The general personally decided to go to the front line. At that moment, Xiao's eyes caught a glimpse of a figure on the wall. A person appeared on the city wall. He looked strikingly similar to Situ Xiao and claimed to be the young general, Situ Xiao's brother. He stated that he had no intention of fighting and had set up an empty city strategy to avoid war. The young general's words made Song Yu understand Situ Xiao's true identity. He also realized that the designer of this strategy might be Situ Xiao. This plan aligned with Song Yu's wishes. It could reduce casualties on both sides and protect Xiao. So he decided to surrender. Hearing Song Yu's decision, the young general of the enemy country felt a surge of confusion. He finally understood that this man truly loved his sister. He had thought it would take a lot of persuasion to convince Song Yu, but unexpectedly, everything went so smoothly. General Xiao looked deeply at Song Yu. His gaze flickered with admiration and gratitude. Suddenly, a deafening cannon blast shattered the peaceful sky, pulling Song Yu back to reality from his thoughts. He became instantly alert. At the same time, soldiers rushed over in panic to report to Song Yu, informing him that this was a gunpowder explosion accident. Song Yu's naturally suspicious nature made him almost immediately suspect Situ Jian, viewing him as the mastermind behind this incident. With a single command, Song Yu ordered his soldiers to immediately annihilate the Xia country and launch an attack on North U Pass. Anger and suspicion intertwined in his heart. He declared sternly that the Xia people were cunning enough, and action must be taken to protect national interests. Song Yu stared at Situ Jian. His cold gaze revealed deep contempt for him. Situ Jian, your despicable tactics are truly disgusting. It contained anger and mockery towards Situ Jian's betrayal and treacherous behavior. Who actually placed the gunpowder remained a mystery. Situ Jian looked at Song Yu with confusion. He stood there dumbfounded, completely not understanding why gunpowder would appear at this checkpoint. He nervously explained that everything had been going very smoothly just now, with absolutely no signs of this. At this moment, Zhao Zhi appeared on the scene. He anxiously shouted to protect General Xiao. On the other side, Situ Xiao, dressed in snow-white attire, rode a horse towards North U Pass, prepared to stop the conflict and reveal the truth. Song Yu pointed his spear at Situ Jian, determined to use him as a warning to others. Situ Jian, unwilling to yield, blocked this fatal blow and kept explaining his ignorance about the gunpowder in the pass. Song Yu sneered, "Gunpowder in the pass. Isn't that the most beneficial thing for your country? Yet you claim you didn't know. This is simply unbelievable." His attack became more fierce, mercilessly slashing towards Situ Jian. Situ Jian noticed the enemy troops were about to enter the city gate. In desperation, he could only order the guards to urgently close the city gate. At the same time, the enemy's assault was successfully blocked outside the city gate. At this critical moment, a white steed suddenly appeared in the sky. On the other side of the city wall, Song Yu and Situ Jian engaged in a fierce duel. To save his own life, he could only choose to flee the battlefield. However, in his early training, the old general of Xia country had never taught any tactics or techniques on how to end a battle. He unfortunately found himself in a dead end. At this moment, Situ Jian's foolish brother-in-law quickly caught up with Situ Jian. Seeing his foolish brother-in-law, Situ Jian immediately went to meet him. Meanwhile, Song Yu's patience was starting to crumble. He decided to capture Situ Jian alive. However, at this critical moment, a beautiful woman in a white robe suddenly appeared in front of Situ Jian. Seeing his sister appear, Situ Jian felt as if he had seen a savior. His heart was filled with joy and comfort. He softly called his sister's name, hoping she could provide an explanation. Hurt by Song Yu's failure to recognize her, Xiao'er had no choice but to address him as general instead. This address made Song Yu slightly regain his senses. He finally recognized the woman before him as the one he deeply loved, Xiao'er. Situ Xiao quickly explained that they had all been framed. It was Li Yin who had planted gunpowder at North Yu Pass, framing both the Xia and Sha armies. Song Yu was shocked. What? It wasn't Situ Jian's doing. At this moment, the younger brother was also embarrassed, watching his brother-in-law's eyes fixated on his sister's face, staring intently. He was speechless. After hearing Situ Xiao's description, Song Yu was shocked to discover that she had not only betrayed Xiagua, but also attempted to assassinate him. He recalled the ambush incident he had encountered earlier in the camp. He realized that was also Shi's arrangement. Feeling the crisis deeply, Song Yu immediately made a decision. He announced a ceasefire. Song Yu carefully unfolded the map Situ Xiao had given him. The text on the map was in the unique script of the Man Country royal family. This was their exclusive writing system, only recognizable by members of the Man royal family. He knew he should hand this map over to the king. If he did so directly, he would be caught in endless trouble. So he came up with an idea. He decided to pretend that he had been severely injured in this plot. He could even say that he had been blown to pieces by the explosion. Let other commanders lead his troops back to the country. Another commander looked at Song Yu and sighed deeply. He slowly said, "It's for that lady who impersonated the young general, isn't it?" In the corner, Situ Xiao cautiously peeked out. Her eyes were full of expectation and worry, as if seeking some kind of confirmation. Song Yu looked at her, then nodded. His voice was low and firm. Yes. The young general learned that Situ Xiao and Song Yu had decided to leave for Xiajing tomorrow. Their decision was not hasty, but based on everything that had happened. Song Yu had once been reported dead, while Situ Xiao had gone to war in place of her brother. At this moment, Song Yu, once a war god, was standing on the city wall, gazing into the distance. Situ Xiao walked up to him. She embraced him tightly. She softly asked, "Song Yu, do you regret it?" He replied, "No, I don't regret it. As long as I have you, I have no regrets." As night fell, Situ Jian quietly came to the place where Situ Xiao and Song Yu were hiding. He sought Song Yu, once a war god, now quietly sleeping on the bed. The general seems very tired. He lay down as soon as he entered the room. Situ Jian sensed the tenderness in his sister's eyes. His thoughts raced. Suddenly, an unbelievable idea rushed into his mind. His face suddenly turned astonished. He nervously asked, "Wait, you two haven't? Brother-in-law hasn't done what couples do with you, has he?" Situ Xiao was startled by her brother's question. She was shocked, her face turning red as she looked at her brother with confusion and asked, "What do couples do?" Situ Jian pondered silently, his fingers unconsciously gesturing in the air, looking troubled. He wanted to explain, but couldn't find the right words. Situ Jian struggled between embarrassment and confusion. Just then, Deputy Commander Lin Xiao came from outside the door. "Young General, the victory celebration is still waiting for you." This voice was as light as Willow Catkins, yet like a sword breaking the siege. Hearing this, Situ Jian saw a glimmer of escape. He jumped out as nimbly as a window. After Situ Jin left, he opened the oiled paper. What appeared before him was actually a whole roasted leg of lamb. For a moment, he really didn't know how to start eating it. At this moment, Song Yu sat up on the bed. He took out a small knife from beside him, skillfully cut off a slice of roasted lamb leg, handed it to Situ Xiao. The full aroma of meat and moderate cooking made him can't help but praise it as delicious. Thank you, General. Song Yu looked at Situ Xiao. A warmth involuntarily welled up in his heart. This Situ Xiao made him feel extremely adorable. Song Yu sat there. He didn't start eating the lamb leg. Instead, he kept staring at Situ Xiao. An impulse surged in his heart. Almost instantly, he couldn't help but lean down, kissing Situ Xiao's lips. This sudden kiss made Situ Xiao stunned for a moment. His mind went blank, as if all breath stopped at this instant. However, Song Yu's kiss made Situ Xiao feel suffocated. He couldn't catch his breath. Feeling his abnormality, Song Yu immediately let go. He didn't dare to look into Situ Xiao's eyes again, but his hand slowly, tightly held Situ Xiao's little hand. He found his hand was cold. Song Yu's heart tightened, immediately put Situ Xiao's hand in his bosom, trying to use his own body temperature to bring him some warmth. Could feel Situ Xiao's hand trembling slightly. Situ Xiao's hand touched Song Yu's skin. He could feel his heartbeat. "Don't move," Song Yu suddenly said, his voice low and firm. He looked at Situ Xiao. Situ Xiao's hand was as soft as cotton, tickling the general's heart. Situ Xiao seemed not to mind the previous awkwardness. He even casually asked Song Yu, "General, do you want to eat some more lamb?" His unintentional question, like an electric current passing through Song Yu's eardrum, shocking his heart almost, unable to control his heartbeat. This feeling really made him unbearable. The situation started to become complicated. Song Yu felt the anger in his heart getting hotter and hotter. He needed to calm down, otherwise he might lose control. He suddenly stood up, picked up Situ Xiao in one motion, then gently placed him in the bed covers. "You rest here. I need to go out for a walk." Situ Xiao suddenly gathered courage. "General, do you want to sleep together?" This question seemed like his own inner voice. But as soon as he said it, Situ Xiao felt surprised and ashamed. "Before, I didn't know Situ Xiao was a woman. Now if we still sleep in the same bed, I'm afraid I'll do something you can't forgive." Song Yu's voice was low and hoarse, his gaze deep and complex. Situ Xiao was startled by his words. "You mean things that only married couples do?" His voice was as small as a mosquito's buzz, but enough for Song Yu to hear. Song Yu felt very curious. "How do you know?" he asked directly, seemingly not caring about the consequences of asking a woman so directly. But in the next moment, Song Yu suddenly leaned over and pressed Situ Xiao under him. His eyes roamed over his face, as if looking for answers. Situ Xiao felt a bit panicked. "Actually, I don't know. It's just what my brother said earlier." Song Yu relaxed a little. "I understand your brother's concern, but don't worry, I won't do that." Saying this, he gently kissed Situ Xiao's neck, then said softly, "Marital affairs. After we get married, you will understand naturally." Situ Xiao blushed after hearing this. He immediately hid under the covers. The sensation on his neck made him feel very itchy. This made him decide never to ask such questions again. After a while, Situ Xiao found Song Yu was preparing to leave. This made him doubtful. Could it be that the general is hiding something from himself? Song Yu saw through Situ Xiao's doubts. "Actually, Norshin left me a message before he left. He said he would wait for me tonight at the snowy mountain on the way back to Sha country. He has something important to say." Norshin knew about Song Yu's background. Situ Xiao decided to go with Song Yu. That night, the bright moon hung in the sky like silver, illuminating the vast snowy mountains. Situ Xiao's heart was filled with vague uneasiness. Song Yu and Situ Xiao traversed patch after patch of cold snow, arrived at the place Norshin had appointed. However, they couldn't see Norshin's figure. His intuition told him there was a strong killing intent around. This killing intent didn't come from his subordinate Norshin. He shouted loudly, "Who's there?" like a stone thrown into a calm lake. His voice echoed in the silent snowy mountains. The next moment, Hushi walked out of the darkness with a group of people. Song Yu's subordinate had succumbed to Hushi's malicious threats. He told Hushi everything he knew. Facing this sudden crisis, Song Yu's heart didn't have a trace of fear. He immediately held Situ Xiao tightly. but he was severely injured. The sword pierced through him. Blood immediately stained the snow red. However, he didn't show any expression of pain. He just held Situ Shio tightly, not letting him suffer any harm. In his eyes, there was only determination, only the intention to protect Situ Shio. Hushi watched Song Yu and Situ Shio disappear into the night. Anger burned in his eyes. He clenched his fists. His low voice was like the cold wind of a winter night, carrying coldness and anger. A bunch of useless people actually let them escape. A guard with a gloomy face slowly walked up to Hushi. He said in a low voice, "Sir, don't worry too much. They can't run far. Song Yu is already seriously injured." In the cold night, Situ Shio tightly held the horse's reins. The pain in her palm intertwined with the anxiety in her heart. She knew she couldn't become Song Yu's burden, couldn't drag down this man she deeply loved. However, she felt Song Yu's breathing behind her was getting heavier and heavier. She couldn't help but worry. Asked concernedly, "General, are you injured?" Song Yu just smiled slightly, gently shook his head. His voice was weak, but extremely firm. "It's all right, Shio. I'm fine." However, when the two reached the end of the road, Situ Shio suddenly smelled a strong scent of blood. He turned to look, but was tightly covered by Song Yu's hands. His voice was weak, but full of deep pain and reluctance. "Shio, don't look." Suddenly, Situ Shio felt the presence behind getting closer and closer. He knew the pursuers had caught up. He looked at the blood pressure ahead. His heart was filled with despair. At this time, Song Yu said to him, "Shio, you go back to North Rain Pass. I'll stop them." Situ Shio shook his head resolutely. He knew he couldn't leave Song Yu. Begged Song Yu to give him his necklace. As long as he had this, he would feel at ease. Song Yu looked at Situ Shio's determined eyes. His heart was filled with pain. He couldn't let Situ Shio die with him, so he made a decision. He knocked Situ Shio unconscious. Let Black Rider take him away. 5 days ago was the day Situ Jian left the princess. However, now he suddenly left. This made the ninth princess feel a deep loneliness and loss, as if her world suddenly became empty and lost its color. She began to miss Situ Jian. The ninth princess suddenly remembered the necklace Song Yu wore in Sha country. It was an ornament symbolizing staying together. She couldn't help but wonder if Situ Jian also had the same necklace. In the ninth princess's memory, the appearance of that necklace seemed familiar, especially the green gemstone in the necklace. After some thought, the ninth princess finally remembered the shape of this gemstone was exactly the same as the gemstone on the forehead of the woman in that painting in her father's palace. This thought filled the ninth princess's heart with doubts. She decided to go find Song Yu and ask for clarity. She immediately called the guards to stop the carriage, then ordered them to turn the carriage around. Back to the camp. On the other side of the battlefield, Song Yu was seriously injured. At Hushi's command, the soldiers, like enraged beasts, all rushed towards Song Yu. Song Yu knew well he could no longer achieve victory by facing them head-on. He had to change his strategy, come up with a plan. He decided to use Hushi's confidence and pride to lure him away from his protective circle and face him one-on-one. Hushi stared intently at Song Yu. He noticed that although Song Yu had been poisoned, he hadn't died from it yet. This made him feel something was off. Hushi thought Song Yu was just hanging on. He decided to fulfill Song Yu's wish. He waved his hand around, ordering everyone to step back. Only he and Song Yu remained. On the vast battlefield, the two began a fierce battle. His breathing was rapid. Large drops of sweat dripped from his forehead. Hushi saw this. A smirk of satisfaction curled at the corner of his mouth. He knew Song Yu couldn't hold on much longer. Song Yu's back had been pierced by arrows several times. Blood soaked through his battle robe. Song Yu's strategy didn't work as he had hoped. Hushi's strength was too overwhelming. Without any hesitation, Hushi turned his sword and thrust it directly towards Song Yu's chest. But before dying, Hushi revealed a shocking secret to Song Yu. Song Yu was the illegitimate son of the king and a disgraced minister's daughter. The proof of Song Yu's identity was the jade stone he wore. He was brave and skilled in battle, beloved by the people. The king's favoritism towards him was also well known. If he were to reclaim his prince status, Hushi's family's third prince would be unable to inherit the throne. This was the reason Hushi wanted to kill Song Yu. With a push from Hushi, he lost his balance and fell off the cliff. In that moment of falling through the air, Song Yu's mind was filled with images of Xiao'er. He was heartbroken. He never imagined that he would no longer be able to return to Xiajin with Situ Xiao. to live that peaceful and stable life. Song Yu landed at the base of the cliff, who she didn't know if he was dead or not. He instructed his men to fish him out, preparing to check personally. However, just at this moment, a guard came running in a panic to report. A group of horsemen was rapidly approaching from the foot of the mountain. The leader of that group surprisingly looked like the ninth princess. This news surprised Hu Shi. He didn't know why the ninth princess would appear at this time. Under Song Yu's arrangement, Situ Xiao rode the black horse alone back to North Rain Pass, although Song Yu had once promised to live and die together with him. After being severely injured, he knocked him unconscious and sent him back. News of Xia country's victory would take 7 days to reach the capital, and Situ Jian, at the gate of North Rain Pass, found Situ Xiao looking haggard. He immediately knew Song Yu was in trouble. Situ Xiao and Song Yu in the snowy mountains encountered Hu Shi, who was trying to kill Song Yu. Although both sides fought fiercely, Hu Shi's sword caused Song Yu to lose a lot of blood. He persisted in sending Situ Xiao back, and Situ Xiao could only use his last bit of strength to beg his brother for help. Situ Jian, regardless of the distance between the snowy mountains and North Rain Pass, led a large group of men to search for Song Yu, but to no avail. Situ Jian could only return to wait for news. Situ Xiao feared Song Yu had been devoured by hungry wolves. News of Xia country's victory reached the capital. War god Song Yu died in battle at North Rain Pass and became famous. The emperor was overjoyed. He wanted to summon Situ Jian back to the palace for a reward. This news shocked the old general. Lady Situ also felt embarrassed. They were all surprised that Situ Xiao could achieve victory in the expedition. They couldn't help but question which deity had bestowed such luck. After receiving the order to return to the capital of Xia, Situ Xiao decided to leave North Yu Pass, return to Xiajing. Although during his days at North Yu Pass, he had been searching for Song Yu, but to no avail. His brother Situ Jian reminded him his family was waiting for him to return home. On the way back to the capital, Situ Xiao recalled the days spent with Song Yu. His room was the same as when he left, as if nothing had happened. However, he would always, in his midnight dreams, see Song Yu calling him at his window. Whenever he woke up from these dreams, he would find the moonlight in the pavilion as white as mist, reminding him that he had lost Song Yu. At home, Situ Xiao's mother and brother noticed something was wrong with him. Since returning, Xiao no longer stuttered or cried. He locked himself in his room all day. Under his mother's questioning, Situ Jian told her the love story between Situ Xiao and Song Yu. After hearing it, Xiao's mother was very moved. She understood her daughter's pain, because she had also lost a lover before. However, she believed people should look forward. Perhaps the next one would be better, so she decided to help her daughter choose a new partner, hoping she could quickly move past her grief. On a cold night, Song Yu disappeared on the mountainside, Hu Shi sent people to search for him, but no clues were found. The ninth princess came to Hu Shi's camp in the dead of night to inquire about Song Yu's whereabouts, but was rudely driven away by Hu Shi. The ninth princess met Nusen at the foot of the snowy mountain. He told her he was sent by the Feng King's order to protect Song Yu. Nusen discovered that although Song Yu was severely injured, there was still a glimmer of hope. He insisted on immediate treatment. Hu Shi wanted to kill Song Yu completely. He grabbed the ninth princess. Just then, the king appeared with his army, ordered Nusen to treat Song Yu immediately. Then the king began the trial of Hu Shi. Hu Shi was charged with treason. Although Hu Shi denied all charges before his death, he was still executed. Nusen successfully saved his life in the tent. However, Song Yu's injuries were severe. They had to return to Tiansha City immediately for more in-depth treatment, to take this opportunity to restore his identity. At this moment, Song Yu, after treatment, had a slight consciousness. In his mouth and heart, there was only one thought: his Xiao. The return of the severely injured Crown Prince Helian Yu to Tiansha City caused widespread concern inside and outside the city. Under Nusen's treatment, after 2 months of recuperation, his condition improved significantly. However, since discovering that Nusen was the king's man, Song Yu's attitude towards him became increasingly cold. The heavily burdened Song Yu expressed to the king his desire to leave Tiansha City, to go to a hospital in Xia country. This news shocked the king. He couldn't believe his own son would choose to leave Tiansha City. The king warned, if he insisted on leaving, it might trigger a war against the lower country. But this did not change Song Yu's determination. While deep in thought, the ninth princess and third prince came to visit Song Yu. They proposed a suggestion. Song Yu could agree to stay for the king, but on the condition that Tian Sha and Xia must establish a marriage alliance. This way, even if the king wanted to renege, he would consider the friendly relations between the two countries. After hearing this suggestion, Song Yu found the king, expressed his willingness to stay, but with the condition that Tian Sha and Xia must form an alliance. The king hesitated about this, but when he heard about the ninth princess's deep affection for the young general of Xia, he wavered. Finally, the king decided to summon Prime Minister Tsang Duo of Xia for talks, to discuss the marriage alliance between the two countries. Since Song Yu could remember, Prime Minister Tsang Duo of Xia country had cared for him like a father. However, life is unpredictable. When his father complained about his son's infatuation with a Xia woman, Tsang Duo came up with an idea to let Song Yu serve as the guard captain for the marriage alliance entourage. Xia was small but wealthy. Tsang Duo thought this idea was feasible. The king finally agreed to the marriage alliance and entrusted Tsang Duo to handle it. Tiansha City was in turmoil again because the rumored crown prince Helian Yu would serve as the guard captain for the ninth princess and the young general of Xia's marriage alliance entourage. Before departure, the third prince gave Song Yu a great gift, his own subordinates Xiao Zhua and Desuo, and reminded him to be careful within the general's mansion in Xia. Upon learning that the ninth princess of Xia would marry Situ Jian, mother decided to keep it from Situ Jian and his sister Situ Xiao, fearing they might have other thoughts. On the day the marriage alliance entourage entered the capital, Situ Xiao and other young ladies saw the marriage alliance entourage together. He discovered the alliance between Xia and Xia. Realizing his brother's dream had come true, he felt it was all like a dream, but at the same time, he was happy for his brother. At this moment, Situ Xiao noticed the young man leading the entourage, his handsome face and demeanor. Every move was somehow similar to his general. Situ Xiao was confused to see someone who seemed to be the general appearing in the marriage alliance entourage. So he decided to go downstairs to search, but in the noisy market, he couldn't find this person. Realizing that if this was the marriage alliance entourage, they must be going to the imperial city, so he and his attendant hurried back to the mansion. Meanwhile, his brother Situ Jian learned he was to marry the ninth princess of Xia. A smile appeared on his face like never before. They planned to meet at today's marriage alliance banquet. The emperor specially arranged separate seating for women. Men were in another room. This arrangement meant Situ Xiao wouldn't see the general. Situ Jian couldn't see the ninth princess. They suddenly had an idea, decided to swap identities. On the other hand, Song Yu learned the prime minister had already arranged for someone to investigate Situ Xiao's identity. He worried this might harm him, decided to pretend not to know him even if they met. After the emperor bestowed wine, General Xiao handed the wine cup to Song Yu on behalf of the emperor. He didn't expect this young general was actually Situ Xiao. Situ Xiao expressed her longing for the general, but Song Yu, to protect her, chose to lie and claim he mistook her for someone else. This unfamiliar attitude confused Situ Xiao. The princes of Xia heard that Xia country's martial arts were superior, so they proposed to have a competition. The emperor was very pleased about this. But when Situ Xiao heard the word competition, she felt scared. Because she was a girl, she didn't know martial arts. However, her grandfather thought this was a good opportunity to bring glory to the country, so he agreed to the proposal. Song Yu could only follow the arrangement. He knew Situ Xiao might lose in the competition. Meanwhile, Situ Jian mixed in with the women. His mother discovered their identity swap. She was very surprised. When the ninth princess arrived, the young general's eyes lit up. He immediately went to greet her. The ninth princess recognized him as the little gardener. The young general also confessed his feelings to her, willing to accompany her for life. However, the ninth princess started to act coy because he had concealed his identity. In the midst of their pushing and shoving, the young general couldn't help but kiss the ninth princess, although she appeared furious on the surface, but was actually very happy inside. She also expressed her willingness to be with him. It was getting late. Situ Jian suddenly remembered his sister was still in Nanzixi, so he proposed to switch back. When the ninth princess learned they were twin siblings, she recalled seeing the naked man in the tent. It was Situ Jian. Just then, the gong for the martial arts competition startled them. They didn't know what decision Situ Xiao would make at the men's table. Situ Xiao couldn't understand why she came just to see her lover, but suddenly found herself in a martial arts arena. She confessed her predicament to her grandfather, that she was Situ Shio, not her brother. Her grandfather's mouth gaped open in surprise at her words, while at this moment her brother was mingling in the women's section. The old general felt his life after leaving the battlefield was even more exciting. He wanted to decline the competition to the emperor, but was misunderstood by the prince. Finally chose to send 5 people from each side to compete. The weapon for the competition was wooden sticks. For fairness, if one side lost, the other side also had to reduce 1 warrior. Even facing one-on-one, Situ Shio had no confidence in winning. Just a few seconds after the competition started, the people of Xia country turned pale, losing matches consecutively. Even the emperor became restless. He originally wanted to rely on General Xiao to turn the tide, but facing Hellion Yu, Situ Shio felt troubled. He didn't understand why Tsang Yu had changed his name, and still didn't acknowledge it, so he came up with a strategy. He told the prince, if you know Tsang Yu, please help me give this necklace to him. Tsang Yu was embarrassed. At this moment someone ambushed him, but hit Situ Shio instead. This scene enraged Tsang Yu, because Situ Shio was his beloved. He mercilessly defeated the attacker, even shattering his jaw, then went to check on Situ Shio's injuries, and confessed the truth to him. They agreed to meet tonight. Without fail, Situ Shio was injured. The old father quickly went forward to report to the emperor. The emperor then allowed them to leave due to injury. The emperor granted permission. The date for Situ Jian's marriage to the 9th princess would be announced after the imperial astrologer's divination. Situ Shio also thanked the emperor on behalf of her brother. At this moment, Tsang Yu's gaze never left Situ Shio. Reuniting after a long separation indeed had a special flavor. Just waiting for tonight's meeting. Then ordered the servants to lock up. Tonight you watch these people. I need to go out. On the other side, the 4th prince beside the emperor was already sweating profusely because he had to be confined for 3 months. This palace banquet ended hastily with this farce. Everyone returned home. Brother Situ Jian, dressed as a woman, hurriedly came. Hearing his sister was injured in the arena fight, he was very anxious. The old father blamed this incident on Mother Ayan. The children's father passed away early. The mother also didn't know how to discipline them. They were really too bold today. Fortunately, grandfather had already invited a female doctor to his room for treatment. The brother felt sorry for his sister, vowed to beat to death whoever hurt his sister. Prancing around in women's clothes in front of grandfather, giving him a headache, grandfather scolded Situ Jian to immediately change out of women's clothes. Go to the ancestral hall to receive family punishment. The doctor had carefully examined. Situ Shio's wound was not serious. Just need to send a servant back to get medicine. Boil it into an ointment and apply for half a month. Inside, Situ Shio was still thinking the general would come tonight, but didn't say what time. After nightfall, the general brought some soldiers and climbed over the wall. Even if he came to visit legitimately in Xia capital, he still couldn't see Situ Shio's subordinates. Don't know when the boss learned so many rules of Xia capital. Neither of the siblings gave a moment's peace. The brother was being beaten in the ancestral hall again. Mother was anxious, immediately went to check. The task of delivering ointment to the daughter was also given to the maid below. The maid went alone. The guide has arrived. Tsang Yu quickly followed. At the door, Situ Shio asked the maid to leave the ointment at the door. After the maid left, Tsang Yu stepped forward. The guard left general phone, holding the medicine alone, and boldly entered the room, not knowing how the wound on Shio's back was. Footsteps came from the room. Situ Shio thought it was the maid coming in. Turned to look. It was actually Tsang Yu. The general himself was now barely clothed, without any cover. The two just stared at each other like this. It was really abrupt. Miss Situ Shio thought the general would come later, because after hurriedly putting on clothes, she actually spilled water all over the floor. Situ Shio was anxious, seeing the general accidentally slip and fall on the ground. It was really pain upon pain. The general hurriedly helped Situ Shio up. In the confusion, her clothes slipped off, revealing snow-white skin. This scene was quite stimulating for the general. Indeed, he should have come later. The general picked up the injured Situ Shio in one swoop. Her shoulder leaned on the general's body, transmitting a chill. The clothes slipped off, revealing snow-white skin. Situ Shio felt it improper. She asked the general to let go of her, wanting to adjust her clothes. The general, who hadn't seen his love for a long time, of course wouldn't let go. Song Yu hadn't held Situ Shio for a long time. Just let him hold her quietly for a while. At this moment, Situ Shio also questioned, "It's been so long. Where have you been? Why didn't you come find me?" As she spoke, grievance welled up in her heart, and she began to cry. Song Yu explained. Back then on the snowy mountain, he was trapped by Hushi. Before dying, Hushi told him that Song Yu's birth father was actually the king. In the end, it was also the king who rushed to the snow plain and saved him. Later, Song Yu was in Tiancheng City. After recovering from his injuries, he immediately came to Xia country, but it was still a bit late. Then today, why did the general pretend not to know me? Song Yu continued. The king might be unfavorable to Situ Shio, so there was no way to openly acknowledge you. After the 9th princess's wedding, Song Yu planned to return to Cha country to negotiate with the king. He had never forgotten his promise to Situ Shio. Situ Shio was seriously injured. After hearing this speech, she still wanted to return to Cha country with the general. This was absolutely impossible. Situ Shio would be in mortal danger. The general had always regarded Situ Shio as very important. How could Situ Shio not feel the same? Her determined gaze made the general recall the night of their separation. Situ Shio was also this resolute and determined. Perhaps he was wrong. Situ Shio was not a fragile woman. Let's go together. I can't bear the pain of separation anymore. Seeing Shioer so determined, the general agreed. The two embraced tightly. But unexpectedly, they touched the wound, causing Situ Shio to cry out in pain. To follow the general to fight while injured, it was truly touching. Seeing this, the general wanted to help Situ Shio apply medicine. The wound was on her back. Applying medicine required taking off her clothes. This action frightened Situ Shio. The general also realized that what he just said was somewhat inappropriate, so he added, "Just applying medicine, nothing else." Situ Shio agreed to take off her clothes, revealing her back. This scene was seen by the general. He really regretted saying nothing else. This fragrant room was truly too tempting. It made Song Yu daze out. Standing there motionless for a long time, Situ Shio's call woke Song Yu up. His fingers gently caressed Situ Shio's back. The ointment was a bit cool, but the general's fingertips were very hot. His caress was also so gentle, comfortably making one feel a bit embarrassed. During the application of medicine, the sound of raindrops falling came from outside the window. Climbing back over the wall now would definitely result in slipping, the general mumbled. Reaching Situ Shio's ears, she thought, how could a dignified general climb walls for me? It's unbelievable. The attendant keeping watch outside also sneezed. He didn't know how long it would take for their boss to come out. He was already completely soaked. The sound of windows rattling came from afar. The general had to leave. Before leaving, he didn't forget to remind Situ Shio that the night was cold. She should add more clothes. Just as he was about to jump out of the window, he didn't forget to ask Situ Shio for a kiss. Perhaps it was just a joke. Situ Shio took it seriously and lowered her forehead, actively kissing Song Yu. This was the first time she had been so proactive. The long kiss left the general wanting more. The intense rain and the heat from her mouth made the general's heart race. He couldn't take it anymore. Tomorrow, he would come to propose. The next day, Shio's mother sighed that Situ Shio was really hard to let go of. At least she was going to start a family. As she spoke, she took out her own paintings for Situ Shio to choose from. Situ Shio said she had already seen Song Yu yesterday. Her mother was confused. He's the good man I met on the battlefield. He's now the prince of Cha country. Today he will come to propose. Are you going to marry in a Cha country? Such a far country, you'll be bullied. How can he, as a prince, naturally have many women? There will be plenty of grievances for you to suffer. As she spoke, she picked up a portrait and called the wonton seller to be Situ Shio's husband. At this time, a servant came to report that someone had come to propose to the young miss. The old master and madam went to the hall. At this time, the old general was having a pleasant conversation with Song Yu, expressing his approval of the marriage between Song Yu and Situ Shio. Just then, Shio's mother rushed out saying, I don't agree. I don't agree to let Shio marry into Cha country. Shio's mother shouted that she didn't agree to Situ Shio's marriage. I want to see which bastard is taking away my daughter. You! At this moment, Song Yu had changed into Xia country clothes and politely bowed to Shio's mother. My goodness, so this is what a dragon-riding son-in-law looks like. Such a handsome appearance. This fickle woman. Song Yu told Shio's mother that he would settle in Xia country. Please give Situ Shio to me in marriage. I will treat her well, be faithful, and never abandon her. If I break this vow, may I die alone." Situ Shio couldn't believe it. The general had kept his word. He did it after obtaining the consent of the old general and Shio's mother. Situ Shio and Song Yu successfully set their engagement. When leaving, Situ Shio saw Song Yu off at the door. At this time, Song Yu gave his subordinate a look. The subordinate immediately understood. "Miss, look quickly. There's actually a phoenix in the sky." At this moment, the two of them sneaked away, behind the fake mountain. "Are you still angry with me?" "No, why?" "Then why aren't you wearing the necklace I gave you?" Situ Shio said, "I returned it to you yesterday at the arena." But thinking carefully, she seemed not to have given it to him. Situ Shio thought hard. Could she have lost it? Such an important thing. Song Yu told her not to worry. He would look for it in the palace. Otherwise, use this as a substitute for now. Saying this, Song Yu lowered his head and left a love mark on Situ Shio's neck. Who knows how long it had been? Situ Shio was so immersed that she didn't even know when Song Yu had left. At this time, the maid came over, standing by the fake mountain, telling Situ Shio to be careful of mosquitoes. "Miss, you've been bitten so badly by mosquitoes." Situ Shio was instantly embarrassed. The general was becoming more and more mischievous. It turned out that the necklace had been picked up by Sha Jun during the arena competition. They all thought their crown prince's love interest was a man now. No wonder they couldn't find her for so long. Inside the Xia country palace, the emperor calculated that the day after tomorrow would be a good day to set the wedding. The document to be sent to Xia country would also be brought back by the crown prince. After all, peace between the two countries is a blessing for the people. The sister also learned about her brother's proposal. She would visit the mansion after leaving the palace. The younger brother was also happy about this. Previously, the sister had been so worried that she couldn't even eat her favorite peach cookies. The arena competition that day was also the fourth prince's idea, intentionally playing a trick. Unexpectedly, it accidentally hurt Situ Shio. Song Yu had already investigated the Xia country people at the arena yesterday. It seemed the necklace was in their hands. Just as they were about to take action, Song Yu's confidant walked in. Then Song Yu also came in, sternly asking what they were going to do. The soldiers stubbornly refused to say. "Still not telling the truth? Do you enjoy physical punishment? We are under the Prime Minister's orders to find your Highness's love interest. If it's true love, don't do anything. If not, find ways to make your Highness return to the country." Song Yu was very shocked. He never thought his usually cold adoptive father had been helping him all along. Situ Shio was leisurely embroidering on the bed, softly humming. Her mood seemed very good. At this moment, Song Yu suddenly walked in, startling Situ Shio so much that she dropped her embroidery. Song Yu heard from his brother-in-law that Situ Shio loved peach cookies, so he specially brought some for her. Situ Shio happily started eating. Song Yu said he wanted to try some too. But his intention wasn't just the cookies. Song Yu planned to take Situ Shio home in 3 days. He asked if she thought it was too fast. "No, this way we can get married sooner." The slow-to-realize Situ Shio only then discovered she had said such things. Song Yu hugged Situ Shio from behind. "My Shioer is so cute." As he said this, he took out the recovered necklace to put on Situ Shio, but found the red marks on her neck hadn't faded. Looking at Song Yu in front of her, she couldn't help wanting to get closer. Unexpectedly, Situ Jin rushed in at this moment. Nothing is more awkward than interrupting others' intimate moments. Situ Jin, who had excitedly run into the room, saw Situ Shio and Song Yu and immediately wanted to find a place to hide. "Sorry for disturbing. Please continue." The embarrassed Situ Shio quickly said she had to return to the palace. "The general came to bring me peach cookies. We didn't do anything." Situ Jin looked at his guilty sister and didn't believe a word. This day was the wedding of Xia country's princess Helian Jiao and Xia country's young general Situ Jin. All the people of Xiajin came out to witness this grand event. Fate is so wonderful. By chance, that day a kite got caught in the treetop. By chance, the person retrieving the kite flew into one's heart. Just as the ninth princess was thinking this, Situ Jin walked in. "Xiao Jiao, I've kept you waiting." Because he rushed back, Situ Jin was teased by the guests. Situ Jin mentioned meeting the ninth princess once 4 years ago. The ninth princess was confused. Do you remember that blessing sky lantern? At this moment, the ninth princess recalled a certain day 4 years ago. Xia country was releasing sky lanterns. At that time, a young man took her lantern away. It turns out destiny had its own plan. With the ninth princess's words, "Husband, from now on my life is complete," the lovers finally became a couple. The next day was for the new bride to serve tea. The whole family was joyful, as the sister-in-law, Situ Xiu, had prepared a wedding gift for her new sister-in-law. It was a sachet embroidered with golden orchids. At this time, Song Yu came to pick up Situ Xiu to set off for Xia country. The family reluctantly waved goodbye. At this moment, the old general became worried about his daughter, who had been widowed for many years. Ayin, now that they've all started families, are you also looking for a daughter? I've been widowed for many years. Although I'm alone gazing at the moon, I've gotten used to it. As long as those two children are happy, I have no regrets in my remaining years. Situ Jin whispered in the ninth princess's ear, "We'll spend more time with mother in the future. If you miss home later, I can also secretly take you there." The princess intimately said, "I think my home is already here. The journey is long." Situ Xiu recalled when she first arrived at Baiyuguan. She was kidnapped by Song Yu, and he bullied the guard husband. "If only I had known you would become my wife, I wouldn't have been so rough." On the Xia countryside, the king complained that the prime minister had switched sides at the last moment, even letting Song Yu bring Situ Xiu back to the country in grand style. He had always wanted Song Yu to inherit the throne. The prime minister calmly said, "You made him the crown prince, but was he ever happy? Why has he never called you royal father?" As he spoke, his subordinate took out Song Yu's family letter. "Perhaps you'll change your mind after reading Song Yu's letter." Half a month later, Song Yu and Situ Xiu finally arrived at the borders of Xia country. Cheers from the crowd filled the air everywhere. Such a high-spirited atmosphere made Situ Xiu nervous. Song Yu held Situ Xiu's hand as they got off the carriage. He found her hand was sweaty and her complexion wasn't good. Was the carriage too bumpy? Situ Xiu told him not to worry. She was fine. At this moment, the third prince approached them. Unexpectedly, Song Yu's expression suddenly changed. The dignified crown prince turned out to be a jealous type. It turned out that just now, the third prince came to welcome Situ Xiu and Song Yu. Song Yu introduced Situ Xiu's identity to the third prince. "This is my fiancée copyrighty, so she's indeed my sister-in-law. Brother often thought of you while recovering in the palace." Hearing this, Situ Xiu's face instantly turned red. So the general had been thinking of her all along. And what was Art Song Yu thinking at this moment? Xiu'er is actually blushing at the third prince. He suddenly remembered what his subordinates had found out earlier. Women from Xia country all like men with skin as white as jade, gentle and refined, with a warm smile. The third prince fit this description too well. So Song Yu gave Situ Xiu a neck hug and said to the third prince with hostility, "Lead the way." Song Yu informed the king that his return to Tiansha City this time was to formally bid farewell. He wanted to settle in Xia country and hoped the king wouldn't interfere. Unexpectedly, the king said he wouldn't intervene anymore. It turned out he had read Song Yu's family letter and understood that in Song Yu's eyes, Situ Xiu was the most precious princess. The king was even preparing to issue a royal decree. After Xia country and Kai country made peace decades ago, Song Yu would serve as ambassador, traveling between the two countries. Situ Xiu and Song Yu felt very confused. The prime minister beside them reminded them to quickly thank the king for his grace. Only then did the two react, realizing he was giving them his blessing. The next day, in the Xia country royal palace, the founding ancestor king had established a rule that future royal family members must make a vow to their wives when they get married. Now that the crown prince is marrying Situ Xiu, let the ceremony begin. The two went to the sacred temple. Situ Xiu marveled at how important this ceremony was. They had to separate the two for a short while. But it was just this brief moment that made the two reluctant to part. The servants all remarked that it was the first time they had seen the crown prince so pleasant. It seemed the rumors about the coldest prince in the royal family were about to dissipate. Situ Xiu didn't know how to perform this ceremony. The maid brought out clothes, telling Situ Xiu not to be nervous. The vow had always been led by the prince. As for why they needed to change clothes, of course it was to facilitate bathing in the river of love. Was there really a river in the sacred temple? Situ Xiu was puzzled, but this outfit was too cool. It was very light and thin. It looked good when worn, just a bit empty in the chest area. She learned from the maids that they used to wear it like this too. Some might have even chosen not to wear anything due to their bold style. After getting dressed, the maids withdrew, leaving the princess consort alone at the entrance of the temple to wait. Although it was already autumn, the sacred temple was so warm. Walking to the center of the river, Situ Xiu realized what a beautiful place this was. She stretched out her foot and found the water was warm. Just as she was about to step in to try it, she was stopped by a voice from behind. "Xiu, wait." That familiar voice was indeed the general's. Still the unclothed general. The general called out to stop Situ Xiu. Not for anything else, but according to custom, they needed to bathe together. Bathing together. Such a shy thing made Situ Xiu blush. Realizing her current attire was as thin as paper, everything visible, she quickly asked the general to look away so she could find some clothes to wear. Situ Xiu turned to run away, but was caught by the general. They were to be husband and wife sooner or later, so there was no need to be so shy now. Feeling Song Yu's body temperature was so hot. At this moment, the sound of bells rang out. It was the sound of the temple's wind chimes. We believe this represents the arrival of the former king. A lifetime vow. For a woman from Xia country, it could be considered shocking. If Situ Xiu was unwilling, she could leave. Situ Xiu disagreed. This ceremony was a sign of respect from the king. She asked the general to guide her. The king's intentions were to show respect to you. It's also showing respect to me. Song Yu understood. He then vowed, "Gods above, I, Song Yu, make this vow today. I take Situ Xiu as my wife, to cherish for life. My soul will follow her forever." After making the vow, they sealed it with a kiss. Love begins with sincerity, engraved for eternity. Situ Xiu's chest felt itchy, and her body started feeling strange. If someone discovered them, it would be too embarrassing. So she asked Song Yu to stop. Tomorrow they would report to the king and return to Xia country. The general had said this before. It seemed he was always fulfilling his vow to Situ Xiu. After reporting to the king, the two set off for the capital. The cool autumn was pleasant. The emperor was playing chess with his ministers. The old general lost 3 games in a row. The emperor could see he had something on his mind. Even without saying, the emperor knew. He must be thinking about his granddaughter and grandson-in-law. A few days ago, the king of Xia country sent a letter. Song Yu was appointed as ambassador between the two countries. Hearing this news, the old general could finally be at ease. That being said, the 2 children should be home soon. The emperor's next words startled the old general. "Your granddaughter Situ Xiu has also been on a military campaign and achieved merit. I want to reward her." The emperor wasn't blind. He could see that Situ Xiu was a girl. The old general quickly begged for forgiveness. The emperor not only didn't blame him, but praised Situ Xiu as a talented military officer. The former emperor said a true military officer strikes fear into enemies, defeating them on sight. The old general must have known her abilities to let her replace her brother in the campaign. So even the war god of Xia country was defeated, bringing peace between the 2 countries. Therefore, the emperor decided on the spot that if there was another war, he would specifically request Situ Xiu to go. The 80-year-old General Situ once again deeply felt that his late years were full of pitfalls. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. The 9th princess and Situ's mother were wondering why Situ Xiu and Song Yu hadn't returned yet. Soon after, a voice from behind said, "They're back." They turned to look, but it was just the errand boy bringing back wonton soup. Unexpectedly, Situ's mother looked disappointed, thinking it was her son-in-law. She was truly let down. But suddenly, Situ Xiu and Song Yu appeared behind them. The servant also shouted, "They're back! They're back!" Situ Xiu was surprised to find that her brother had grown taller. "Your brother has been growing rapidly since he got married. Maybe you, Situ Xiu, will too." Situ Xiu immediately blushed. The 9th princess asked when Song Yu and Situ Xiu would clarify things. Song Yu said they would do so after choosing a residence. Unexpectedly, the old general excitedly said, "Why choose a residence? Just live in the general's mansion. We'll clarify for you tomorrow, Shi Yuan." This was a bit too sudden. Song Yu and Sidu Shio were clearly a bit flustered. Little Nine, and I prepared the new room for you half a month ago. So Situ Shio and Song Yu gladly accepted. At this moment, they noticed the old general had been holding an imperial edict. It turned out the emperor had known all along that Situ Shio had replaced Situ Jian in the campaign. He even appointed Situ Shio as the current female general. If there's war in the future, she might be ordered to go on a campaign again. Everyone was utterly confused at this point. What was all this about? So would Miss Sita go on campaigns in the future? Who knows? Situ Shio tremblingly asked General Song Yu, "What should we do?" The general replied, "Don't worry. With me by your side, we'll comb through life together, as husband and wife till old age." At this time, while combing her daughter's hair, Situ's mother spoke words of blessing. Second comb through to the end, no bitterness and no worries. Third comb through to the end, many children and long life. From beginning to end, auspicious and prosperous. In a red wedding dress, Situ Shio's face glowed like a peach blossom. Her eyes sparkled with brilliant colors. Situ Shio, who was very nervous, felt much more at ease after Song Yu's large hand held hers. Since the wedding was held at the general's mansion, it was a bit simpler. But Situ Shio and Song Yu had no regrets. Situ Shio had been waiting in the bridal chamber for a long time. She heard a creak as the door was pushed open. Song Yu, entering the room, felt as if in another world. The scene before him seemed familiar. In the candlelight, a girl in a wedding dress sat quietly. Wasn't this the dream I had on the night of the avalanche? It turned out that the fate between Situ Shio and Song Yu had been destined long ago. They drank the ceremonial wine together. Suddenly, Song Yu asked Situ Shio when she first felt her heart move for him. "It should have been when I helped you with your sword. You said not to be afraid, that I could definitely do it." At that moment, I saw in the general's eyes a better version of myself. Song Yu realized, "Oh, it was that time? Actually, I was thinking then, if this kid couldn't do it, I'd knock him out with one palm." Situ Shio was upset that Song Yu had such thoughts. "Don't be angry, wife. And you should call me husband now. My wife now knows about marital matters. The clothes from Xia country are complicated. I don't know how to take them off. Please help me, wife." Situ Shio didn't think much and started to undress him. When she was halfway through, she suddenly felt it was intentional. But it was too late. Our first encounter, this life from dawn to dusk, never apart, year after year, always looking after each other.